Take the wings in.
That looks amazing.
They're very spicy.
I don't want them. I don't like spicy.
I know.
I know you're just a little girl and I have to wipe your face the whole time.
I got this shit all.
I have to treat you like a baby, but you know.
I'm gonna need some beer. Maybe I drink. Hurry up. Why is this thing shutting off? What's going on? That's one crazy bug. Well, it's the truth. Oh, I don't care. It's funny. I know. Everybody's pissed because I didn't give you the money shot of the brisket squirting all over the squeen. Squeen? Oh, yeah, squeen. You know, it's a squeen, Jeffrey. It's a squeen. And one great thing about cooking the ham in the, Jesus, or green bean cast. So much easier just to reheat it in a pit. Well, because you don't want to meese?
Obviously, this is a great day. I mean, I'm practicing social distancing, but look at those guys. See, they're practicing social distancing too. Very good. That's a really good social distancer there. Howdy.
Hi.
See, so you can still go out right in the neighborhood and just walk around. You got yourself some wine. Chardonnay, that is, from Wine Till Sold Out. I mean, I can get used to this. I think you can too. Oh, wait, I'm exhausted. Better. You know, and if you don't want to hold the bottle, the great thing about my new invention is you can just let it go down and you just got the tube sticking out. It works, trust me. We're all gonna be doing this real soon, the way this is going. Don't be afraid right now. Just get yourself a nice hazmat suit. Enjoy the beautiful weather. I mean, look at it, it's gorgeous out today. People are working. Ugh. I gotta stop. Refill? So I'm sure a lot of you are thinking I'm taking this coronavirus way too serious. But god darn it, watch one of my old videos and I'll put it in a link above where somebody sneezed in my face. How terrible was that? Wow, his lawn looks incredible. I don't know if I'm talking too much in this mask and that's why it's fogging up, or if I'm running into a cloud of COVID-19. Either way, I'm protected. All right, I better get back to those chicken wings before they burn up. I think my timer's going off right now. If I don't win an Emmy Award for this content, it's rigged. I ain't kidding you.
You know when you're cooking at night, the weirdest things pop in your head. Stuff like, there's a skeeter on my, knock it off. There's a skeeter on my, knock it off. There's a one, there's a dozen. You can hear the buzzing. There's a skeeter on my Peter, knock it off. You can sing along if you want to.
We've all been there, standing alone by our pits while it's raining, just praying we can light a match so we can have a fire. Our main goal in life is to be that husband, that dad, that hero that can provide our circle of life one incredible cook that will satisfy even the worst hunger for Q. So get ready. Ricer is here to bring you peace and end your struggles of failure. He is here to help you amplify your backyard barbecue fun. Oh, can somebody please tell me who wrote this crap? Welcome to Dead Broke BBQ's Tavern Talk. Now here's your host, Ricer.
Hey everybody, well I guess, strike two. I mean, it's 2 weeks in a row now that I've had some type of weird issue with my eCam or Skype. So there's a rat in my belfry and I'm going to have to clean my claws. If you know where that's from, congratulations. But yeah, so it's a little frustrating sometimes. I think I've aged about 2.5 years in the past 2 weeks, but hey, we got it. For whatever reason, when I had all that debacle last week, it changed my setup when it went live to unlisted. So I'm glad Scott saw that in the background, because I don't actually get to see the whole darn the YouTube part of it. I'm looking through a different production level and stuff. But hey, we're back on, darn it. So good job, and thank you for being patient with me. Man, I went like 20 some weeks without having to deal with that crap, and then all of a sudden now here we are. So, but anyways, everybody, how you doing? I mean, this weekend around in Wisconsin was beautiful. I mean, it was actually like a really nice, like 70 to 75 degree weather. I mean, maybe a little warmer than that, but the whole time it seemed really good to me. We did kind of old school cooking yesterday. It was kind of fun. We just did burgers. I haven't done burgers on a grill for a long time, so that was fun. And I know it sounds weird, like, you haven't done burgers on a grill for a long time? No, I actually haven't. It seems like all the time it's ribs or some type of like beef or something, pulled this, pulled that, chicken. We eat a ton of chicken around here. But yeah, it was just fun. The boys said, hey, we're gonna make up some patties and you can cook the burgers. So that's what we did. So it was fun. It was a good job, and they ended up being freaking fantastic. I'm not gonna lie to you. So yeah, I'm getting a little more gray. Yeah, that's for sure. From the last couple of days, I'm getting a little more gray. God darn it, But so whatever. We're working through it. But I mean, I just can't believe it. So I mean, I looked at this thing. So something happened when I went live to went unlisted. But this week we've got some pretty cool people coming in here. We've got Dan Corso, and he is from Oklahoma Joe's itself. He's the production manager, and so we're going to bring him in soon. And then after that, we have Keith and Kevin Bevington, and there's a lot of fun stories between those guys. They both are heavily involved into barbecue and food service, so it's going to be fun. Kevin is a Hall of Famer, barbecue Hall of Famer, so it's going to be fun to bring him in and talk. And Keith, you're a typical backyard barbecuer, but I tell you, he helps more people on Facebook than anybody that I see in these different groups. But so first, we're just going to start off a little bit about Oklahoma Joe's. Everybody knows that I'm associated with them, and I do some product reviews with them. I've had a lot of success with the Ryder and now the Bronco. I've had a lot of fun cooking on both of those rigs. So I'm excited to talk a little bit with Dan and let you guys talk with Dan a little bit, because there's so much involved with getting into an actual pit and the development of it. And that's kind of what we're going to talk a little bit. But let's go ahead and give him a call, and we'll get him in here. Give me a second, and we'll fire this up. And here he comes. Hopefully. I gotta turn this
All right.
off. There we are,
hey,
bud.
Jeff.
How you doing, man? I had a little bit of technical difficulties again.
Okay.
For whatever reason, the link was set to prior to unlisted, so I just had to reboot and start over. So it is what it is when you're doing some live stuff. But man, I tell you, it's 2 weeks in a row. I've probably aged like I say at least a couple years now in the past 2 weeks. So how you doing tonight, bud?
Not too shabby. Hanging out here.
Good. Obviously I know you. We've been on the phone and got to know each other a little bit in the past few months. But just introduce yourself and give us kind of the rundown about you, so the people in the chat can kind of hear about you a little bit.
Sure thing. Yeah. So my name is Dan Corso. I'm a product manager for Oklahoma Joe's. I basically manage the product portfolio that we have. I help with all the strategy and development of those products, and then I kind of lead the projects as we work on them, and all the way to execution, help with selling and all of that stuff. So basically I get the privilege to work on and kind of design these products every day, which is fantastic.
Sure. And I kind of mentioned like when I first started the show here about product development. I mean, that's a huge thing. And, back in the days, and let's just talk about Joe Davidson a little bit. Congratulations to Oklahoma Joe's that he's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, that is, pretty special. I mean, I know he's not really 100% tied to the company anymore, but that's a big deal to have, a former guy be in the Hall of Fame. And
sure.
is there anything you guys are doing or with him or anything like that in the future, or bragging rights?
Sure. Yeah. Well, first and foremost, we're super stoked for Joe. That's a great accomplishment, and we know he's done a lot for barbecue in general, including basically starting this brand that we all know and love. So, number
Right.
one, that's great, and congrats to him for that. And in terms of what we're doing for it, we'll have to see how things shape up as the year goes along. But hopefully, at the American Royal, where I believe the ceremony will be. We'll be able to do some stuff for him, and we'll get a chance to hang out with Joe again. So it'd be fantastic if that all works out. But you know how things have been lately.
Oh yeah,
uncertain.
yeah. Uncertain is for sure,
Yeah.
So like your role in Oklahoma Joe's, you're the production manager. Okay, so when you're starting in, obviously it comes up with an idea. With you guys, let's just use the DLX or the rider for an example. Do you know like how many man hours? Do you guys have a total of how many man hours from start to finish, or an idea? I know that's a big number, but I mean, is there like a certain thing like you guys like budget? Like, hey, we're gonna go into development here with this. Let's plan for X amount of hours and for a trial. Do you have some type of like levels like that or anything?
Yeah, that is it's a huge question. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that, and there's a lot of people that are involved. So, we have. So when we're setting out to kind of figure out what we're going to work on, there's a lot of man hours invested in strategic planning, really. So that's kind of heavily in my group. We do a lot of exploration of products that are out there, consumers, what they think of current products, what they want out of them, what they don't like, and just really understanding the state of things as it is. So there's a huge amount of time put into that. We also do research projects, both focus group and survey type research to kind of understand more about how people react to certain things and ideas. So that's just kind of all of your setup stuff. Once we have an idea that we really like to want to go down the path, you have the whole entire development process, and that's where you start getting industrial design involved, engineering involved, the sourcing team involved, quality, our teams in Asia that help with all of the development. So when you're talking man hours over when we talk a big project like this that's very new for our company, that's at least 18 months or so, and that's man hours of a lot of people. So you're
200,
talking
200,
thousands.
thousands. Yeah.
I mean, the testing alone that the engineers do in our lab, we have hundreds of hours on these things, just running them. And, especially when it comes to the rider, we really wanted to make sure that system was working properly. It was a new system for us. So we did a ton of, durability testing, calibration testing, all of that stuff. So it takes a lot of effort to put something like, especially a pellet grill, that is more complex than, say our typical, or we're kind of where we've come from, our offset smokers being our bread and butter.
Right.
It's a little bit more simple in there because you're also, sort of relying more on the end user to really figure out how to use the product. There's a lot more invested up front and, just to really make this thing work.
Sure.
And be launched on time. Yeah.
Well, and most definitely 100% to when you talk about like the whole tooling part of it and how is this going to work with, that's when your engineers are trying to figure out with a fire pot in this direction. And, I've always told you that your sear zone on the rider is just incredible. On the DLX is just incredible. It's just a huge, massive thing. And a lot of people might not be so up to date on the different models of the Riders, but they're all kind of little different. Same hopper, but they're all just a little bit different. And you know, when you get in that DLX, there is some massive fire pot area for searing some stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, when you guys kind of threw this at yourselves about the whole pellet thing, because let's face it, it's always been a kind of more of a charcoal and wood type of cookers that you guys have developed. And what kind of pulled you into the pellet? Was it more of a, hey, if we don't join them, you know, and get in this, we're going to be behind? Or was it like, no, we're ready? You know, what was the whole decision behind all that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'd be lying to you if I said it wasn't a debate that we had, you know, internally. There was a lot of that. Hey, our consumers are, you know, really into the offset stick burners, actually cooking with wood, you know, live fire cooking, and really taking a lot of pride in the way that they, you know, learn their products, learn exactly how much fuel to use, how to prep their food, all that stuff. So that was definitely a debate that we had. But ultimately, you know, as we, you know, in recent years have seen the interest in Oklahoma Joe, you know, our goal has been to kind of expand the brand, and not just expand it for the sake of expanding it. We wanted to expand it in meaningful ways with meaningful products. So what we really try to do when we look at a potential new product is look at the products that we have currently, and we ask ourselves, are we stepping on, you know, the features and benefits of the products that are already out there? Because ultimately, we want each new product to be something that you can add to, I like to call it, your cooking arsenal. You know, something that has a specific use. So, you know, when someone asks me why, you know, should I pick the Highland or the Bronco, the answer is you should have both of them, because they both do different things great. You know, and so that was kind of where we ended up with this. Well, you know what? There's, you know, it may not be the traditional path for the who we know as the Oklahoma Joe guy, but there's a lot of upside in this product type, whether or not they've quite adopted it yet. So we know they love the brand and all the things that go along with it. Well, why not give them this added benefit and feature set, you know, that they'll feel good about it being an Oklahoma Joe product, because they, you know, kind of believe in the brand. And then we've also, you know, the other piece of it is that when we looked at the market and the competitive units out there, we knew that this is still a relatively new product type, and there was a lot of improvements to be made. So, you know, we have a lot in place. We have a lot of knowledge. Our advanced development team has some really smart guys, PhDs in engineering and all of this. So we have a lot of tools at our headquarters that we can really look into this stuff and develop really solid products. So we just saw the opportunity. And then, of course, looking at, you know, just the trends in stores and how people are kind of buying into it, you know, there's a lot of upside there. It has proven itself as a fuel type and a benefit set that people are interested in, but there was a lot of room to improve on it. So, you know, you take all of those factors, mix them all together, and, you know, at the end, you come out with, hey, this has a lot of potential. And so that's how basically we kind of all were on board to go forward with it, and it seems to have been a good choice for us.
Yeah, and it's a solid cooker. I've had a lot of good luck with it, and it's a little different than some of the other ones that I've been on. You know, just because of the height in that chamber and all that, little different design. You know, there's other. You know, I'm trying to think of a couple other. I know them, but that kind of have that, like a Mac is kind of like that, where they got that taller chamber and all that, and it's pretty cool. Like I like it that you just stacking up. You know, a lot of the pit, like the Pit Boss and the Traeger and all that, they're just kind of going longer with one shelf on there. So I do like the whole concept, and that kind of makes you separate with that, especially with that huge sear zone in the DLX for sure. When you guys, I mean, how long does it take for the lab to say, okay, I mean, you guys came up with it about 18 months ago, let's say. It took 18 months. How long is that cooker spent in a lab with multiple different types of temperatures and cooking things? How long does it go through the testing part of it before you're actually ready to put it out there?
Yeah. So first and foremost, we come up with kind of the feature set or what we're trying to accomplish. So I was saying before, we kind of targeted some of what we considered shortcomings of models that were out there, and one of those things was steering performance. And then we kind of unleashed the engineers on it to do their magic there. So when they come up with some ideas, we all kind of in our meetings kind of agree on that, and then they'll go and run computer simulations is kind of where it starts.
Okay.
So that's that could be a couple of weeks or so where they're building different models in a simulator to kind of understand how heat is flowing through the system. If it's conceptually doing what we're thinking it's doing. The next step from there is we take those designs and send them to we have an internal shop that can make prototypes that we can cook on and test those ideas in real world conditions. So, it may not be the final, ID, aesthetics for the product, but we're now in the field, checking out, how that baffle is turning. Is it actually doing what we think it's going to do and what it's doing in the computer? So that'll usually take a couple months of, testing and then iterating on that. The shop makes a new model. We test that one out until it's refined to a point. So yeah, I mean, all in all, it's probably, I would say that period is about, 3 months ish. And it's constantly evolving. It's not like 3 months, one block. We get it to a point where we can start really getting at it with ID. Everyone starts kind of getting in on it. Quality is saying, well, we should do it like this to make sure it's, easier to work with or whatever. And so, that's kind of the great part of working with the team. We're meeting every week to make sure that everybody's kind of expertise is included in the product. So it's a constantly evolving thing. And, the real great part is when it all gets to a point where we can have some models in the lab or outside on our cooking deck that we can start using more regularly. And that's when the real, we start really ironing it out and getting into the nuance and refining the idea. So, we do as much as we can in that development period. But of course we also have the ship date. So
right.
You got to at some point say, okay, I think we're at a point where this is doing what we want it to do. And so let's keep plowing forward.
Right. So, it's kind of fun to think about, like, a concept, and then it actually passes all the grades, and then there it is, it's in the box. You know what I mean? Now it's in the box and you can go buy it. I'm sure that you take one home and test it to your best of knowledge and put it through its hoops at home too, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
That's got to be a perk for your position a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, it starts with competitive stuff. So I have a yard full of, everybody else that kind of does similar things, and I'll cook on them extensively and kind of understand the good things about them and the bad things about them, and take them, back to the team and say, here's some things that we can think about. And then of course the final product, like you said, the great feeling when it's in that box and you take it home. Yeah. And then I pound on it harder than anybody that, actually went out and bought the thing. I promise you that. To know, I want to know the limits of the product as well. So we better understand it as we kind of iterate toward, new models in the future.
Right.
So, absolutely. I'm one of our hardest testers.
Well, and a lot of the guys that are in here, some that are watching right now, they're fellow YouTubers, and they probably don't realize that you're also a YouTuber yourself. You don't have your own channel, but you are the guy for Oklahoma Joe's YouTube channel for a lot of the setups and all that. So how do you how do you like being a YouTuber?
It is it's interesting. It's a lot of fun. It was funny. I kind of just checked the YouTube link right before, and I saw that you had some bloopers in there.
Yeah.
Those may be my favorite part of the entire process is the blooper reel that you get out of it.
Yeah.
But no, it's actually really cool. Mostly because I like to have the opportunity to, especially now with everybody, kind of being quarantined, or that's starting to let up. But anyway, it's a great way to give your product a sense of scale. I'm standing there next to it. picking up the lid, showing you elements. So number one, you get a really good feel of the product. Number two, we get to explain some of the features. You get to hear it from the horse's mouth. So
exactly, yep.
I can explain why we did certain things, and what's the idea behind this feature or that feature. So I think that's a really cool angle, and it's a good, it's just a really great piece of information to give to a consumer. Because at the end of the day, I am a big gearhead. So any hobby that I'm into, I probably spend way too much money on it. I watch way too many YouTube videos about it, but I am obsessed with the unboxing, review type videos. Sure. And, for me, we're trying to emulate that and kind of produce that same content because I think it's so great. Now there's so much out there that you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to buy a pencil without watching 6 reviews about it if you want to.
Exactly. Yeah. And you guys have very high quality, obviously, production that you're doing on set, and lots of camera views and angles and stuff like that. And obviously, you know the product better than anybody, so you should be the guy that's doing it. So I've laughed a few times when I've seen you. I'm like, I wonder if he screws up, So I'm glad to hear that you admitted that you do a little bit,
I'm telling you, the bloopers are great.
Yeah.
And the other piece about it too is the production team is really, we have our camera guy Chris that works with us to do all of that, and he is also super knowledgeable about the product, so it really helps. We kind of work together on that stuff, and if I miss a point, he'll say, hey, then maybe we should mention that feature. That's a great idea. It's great in that. And again, another piece of that team coming in to contribute and make sure that what we're putting out is as good as it can possibly be.
Right. And I always tell everybody too, it's so easy just to sit and talk with your friend around the pit. If you're like, when my buddies come over or something and we're talking about, this and this, when you hit record, not that it's hard for me to be on camera, but it's hard for me to translate sometimes the words that are in my brain and spit them out correctly. So that's always a deal, so, but, so, now moving into into the pellet stuff, and you guys are still very heavy in the charcoal and the wood. You've got that the Pro Bronco. Now I have the regular Bronco. I think there's a big calling for that bigger barrel. And have you guys kind of witnessed that yourselves with that cooker, or is it more of a specialty thing? Because man, that thing's massive, and it's pretty too. It's orange. I like that,
Yeah. So that was an interesting story too, because the drum smoker is sort of, so it came. One of the big inspirations for that is just seeing competition teams are using drums a lot, and so we sponsor a few competition teams, and the Sirius Q is one of our first and one of our biggest teams that we sponsor. And he, Scott from that team, used the drum. And so we kind of got familiar with it and really liked how it was working. And so, the idea was to design one that was more for kind of a consumer grade in terms of size and usage. But as we developed, and Scott did, give us some input on that as well to make sure that, it was doing everything that we were hoping it would do. But when he went to use one in competition, that was his first, piece of feedback was, hey, this thing's too small. Sure. So we felt that there was a pretty good need for both of the sizes. The regular Bronco being, a great size for most people that aren't going to be cooking, 3 pork butts on one grate at the same time. So, or the bigger basket, we know a lot of competition guys are cooking at higher temperatures and burning through a lot more fuel faster. Yeah. So we kind of use those. We kind of put those upgrades in mind for competition, and that bigger barrel is kind of geared more toward a competitive user, based on his needs for space and fuel. And it even has that big logo plate that's kind of built into it so that you can customize it with your team name.
Sure.
So at the end of the day, we kind of saw a need for both sizes, and that's kind of how it is where it is, where you can kind of buy what suits your needs. So, Yeah, so that's kind of basically it.
Well, it really makes sense though, to be honest with you, because
Mm.
you know a lot of you even look at the Weber Smoky Mountain. There's two different sizes, and
Mhm.
now the pit barrel cooker has got two different sizes, and because like with me, if I was doing comp, you're gonna want that bigger. Great for sure. And
Yeah.
again, like you say, they're burning hot and fast typically in all competitions now. So it only made sense to make it. And if that big one runs as good as the small one, well, it's a winner. I've really enjoyed it.
Yep.
What is, this might be a hard one for you to answer, but what's your favorite cooker out of all the Oklahoma Joes? What's your favorite one that you like to use the most?
I got to say, so back to what I was saying before, you kind of have each of your products for
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing. Um, so it's a hard call, but I got to say, it was the Bronco, but when I got the Rider Deluxe at my house and started using it on a daily basis, that kind of took lead for me a bit.
Sure.
The way it ends up working out is that I'll use the Rider on weekdays, and then if I got some time I want to hang out in the backyard, that's when I'll fire up the Bronco.
Bronco. Yeah.
And because I still like playing with the temperature control and setting up the charcoal and all of that. So
Right.
it kind of depends on the task at hand, but I think the Rider Deluxe is kind of eking out the Bronco a little bit, right?
All right. Well, that's cool. And that's kind of, I mean, I just got the Bronco not too long ago, and
Mhm.
it's kind of excited me to get back into charcoal cooks on videos. I mean, I still cook with charcoal all the time, but not on videos. Now I'm kind of excited to be doing that again. So it's fun.
That's great.
But I will tell you, I fire up the DLX to do something. It's like I got a couple Rex ribs. I'm not making a video. I'm gonna fire that up. To be honest with you,
Right, right,
it's a
right,
little
right.
easier, and it's good. It's a good machine. I'm very very pleased with it, and I know that you guys are kind of involved with the Facebook groups. I've seen people that have been in there, and you guys monitor those chats a little bit, and you're in there kind of checking that out, in my opinion, and getting some feedback. Is that a great resource for you guys to say, hey, maybe we need to look at this part or look at that part? Or, is that something you guys do, or you just do like the survey thing more?
No, actually, that is actually a huge kind of piece of data point for us. That
Mm-hmm.
looking through that forum is, as I was saying, I'm hard on my products. Well, those guys are hard on the products too, and so that's a great avenue to kind of just see, if we're pleasing those guys, we know we're doing pretty good. I
Right.
think outside of that, I mean, if you think about it, someone that is signing up for a forum and is actively participating in that forum is really into this hobby that they're doing. So,
Right. Exactly.
they're going to be your hardest critics, and they're also going to be your biggest, cheerleaders when
Yeah,
you're
your
doing it
biggest
right.
fans. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So it's a great place for us to kind of go see how we're doing on that. So we see where we have to improve things, and we take notes, and we make sure that everybody's aware of that, and we kind of work toward that, for future product. And
Sure.
then we love to see the kudos there that we actually we did some stuff that are the things that we did and we put on paper. Hey, say you can't sear well enough on a pellet grill.
Right.
That's something we need to tackle and make sure that we do it. And you look at a forum like that, and that's where you can get that good feeling that, hey, I think we kind of solved that problem for a lot of people.
Right.
So yeah, it is a great resource for us.
Right.
It's not everybody that uses the product, but like I said, it's kind of the hard test, and it's a good one to help us gauge ourselves.
Right. The obviously every product release, okay, there's always some type of issues that kind of happen. There's always some little thing that, hey, this may be working. You guys are continually trying to improve that minor things, I'm sure, on all your products. I'm sure there's always something that, maybe some of the older like stick burners you don't develop much or put a lot of time because it's gone through that rigorous, but I'm sure you're still working on enhancing all the newer stuff that you got right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of ties into your last question as well. Having that resource and having that feedback. So we have forums, we have reviews, we have our own use case scenarios. when you're testing something in the development phase, you're in a lab, you're tied to deadlines. There are other projects coming through. There's only so much. You do as much as you can, humanly possible, to test the crap out of things. But at the end of the day, when you start putting product out in the real world, there's going to be variables that you don't foresee. Mass production can be tricky, and it takes some time to kind of hone in. So yeah, absolutely, we continually keep an eye out for that stuff, and it's our goal at the end of the day is to make a product that performs well, that makes people proud to own it. People, we want people recommending this product to other folks. I mean, we're trying to make something that makes everyone excited about it. And if we screw it up and then don't, if we have issues and we don't address those issues, we're not going to have those fun consumers for a long time. They're going to be pretty much done with us. So, we know we have an obligation to them, and the truth is, a lot of people that work on the team are, they're going home and cooking on these products as well. So
sure.
We want to be proud to recommend them. We want you guys to be proud to have them and recommend them. So yeah, we're continually working to improve product anywhere that we can.
That's awesome. You kind of brought up earlier that COVID kind of maybe threw a wrench into the situation a little bit. How has that kind of stirred up the actual employee base, let's say, for Oklahoma Joe's? Have you guys, all had to scatter, or, what has kind of happened to you guys through this whole pandemic?
Yeah, so we're basically still in a work at home status. Luckily, a lot of the development work that we are doing, we can do remotely. So that hasn't been as big as a hit as something like customer service. The customer service is where we've really been hit hard, where the teams that are running those centers are, at some point were deemed, non-essential. And so we kind of lost a lot of the personnel there. Yeah. So that's one thing. It's funny you bring up the owners club. That's, the sort of bad vibes that we have been getting, not so much for the product itself, but the fact that people aren't able to get support when they need to. And so it's a great question, and glad you brought it up. And for anyone that's watching, and we're working diligently on trying to work through that backlog to try to be able to get up to date and help people with any concerns or issues and questions they have for us.
Well, I mean, especially when you were, maybe thinking that, well, these people are still going to be essential because blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, no. And, well, how do you set up this huge call center to throughout different areas and different homes? That's, call forwarding isn't going to work that slick. So, well, I mean, and I'm going to tell you, I'm pretty sure you're not the only manufacturer in the world that has run into this same situation with their call centers and their parts and all that type of stuff, because I know for a fact, because I have called and I'm waiting on hold for a long time, and it's like, what do you expect? They probably they can only have 2 people in the building or some dumb rule, you don't know. So, but that'll clear up, because, in the past, you guys have had a decent, reputation for customer service. So, I mean, should be able to.
Once again, that is kind of, customer service is a big piece of what we do, and the whole thing of wanting you to be excited about these products and recommend them to your friends. A big piece of that is making sure that our consumers are supported with any issues they have with it. We want people to feel good about their purchase,
right.
And know that they're supported. So at last I heard, we're making up ground on the backlog, and hopefully we'll be back to even soon enough.
Yeah. And people, obviously, if you're sitting there and you want to get your pellet grill or your Bronco fixed or something, and you're having issues, and you're like, oh, I can't get a hold of it. Well, obviously that's going to frustrate anybody. But if they can just take a step back and just say, well, maybe nobody's here, or especially when they get through and somebody says, well, unfortunately, we're not even in our office and we're trying to makeshift this. So, yeah, I mean, but,
I understand the frustration.
Yeah. We've all been there on different levels. So,
sure.
do you see in the future for like the pellet grill, the rider, like enhancing another model in, the 2.0 has a PID like controller or something? Do you see yourselves continuously in developing that product, or is it going to kind of sit at the same level?
No. Of course, we see so again, when you're developing a product, there's only so much you can do, with one iteration, especially if it's your first iteration. So, that's where we kind of led with our priority being, those features that were missing from other products.
Sure.
So there is, in which we think we did a pretty good job at delivering on those performance aspects that we were promising and really trying to go for.
Right.
So next iteration, how do we refine that experience, and how do we refine the experience of anything that, we didn't touch? We might have taken a more standard approach to something like the feed system. Well, how do we innovate on that? We know a lot more about it now than we did, when we developed this. And if you think about it, we did, the three models that came out, the 600, the 900, the Deluxe, they are similar feed systems, but they're different. They're different hopper sizes. They're different. Different chamber sizes. Different auger sizes. They have different heat baffle systems. So all of that takes calibration and time to refine all of that. So that we had to kind of nail down that situation. And so like I said, we think we did a pretty good job delivering on what we were trying to, and then that kind of is now our runway to developing and iterating and improving that product, for the next iteration.
Sure.
And then, without saying too much, there's, some other features that, we've been wanting to build into the system that aren't there at all right now. Some completely new model types.
Okay.
So anyone that's kind of looking for the next iteration can be excited, because there's a lot on the plate that's coming up that will, kind of take everything that we've been seeing and applying that for, new cool products. So
sure. That's awesome. I mean, I wish I could twist your arm a little bit so you could tell us, but hey, we'll just everybody make sure you follow Oklahoma Joe's on Instagram and you'll be able to get that alert, so
Sure.
And that's got to be kind of the fun thing. I mean, I always look at it, if I worked in manufacturing, that just the things that are like you try things, and because I'm kind of a gearhead myself in some ways and a tinkerer, and it's always fun when you say like, hey, we're going to try developing this, and like some of them come through and some of them don't, and I mean, it's still like, it's got to be kind of fun to see all that's going on in that lab and stuff like that. So
Sure.
I'm going to open up the chat for a few questions. If there's, I did see a couple come up earlier, and they were going by so fast that I really couldn't keep up with all of them. But I did see one from Pickles Barbecue. He talked about if you have any concerns in the future with working with China. Does Oklahoma Joe's have any concerns with working with it because of the, let's just call it the trade and all that type of stuff? Do you see any like issues there in the future?
So yeah, the situation is what it is, and so us, like many other manufacturing companies, are trying to, first of all, try to understand the situation. One of the tricky parts about that is that it's kind of changing continuously, and it also isn't really tied to anything specific. So it's kind of hard to plan for the unknown in that way. So we're doing our best from that side. And the other side is, potentially looking for other options, just for areas that, might be something that we can kind of branch out into. Sure. So it's something we're definitely keeping a close eye on. It affects us in a big way. So, it's a good question, though.
I got one from Jake Nuz. He wants to know, what was the most frustrating part of getting the Bronco to production? What was a frustrating thing? Do you remember anything from that little cooker?
So the Bronco, if I remember correctly, was that was a project we started a smidgen late. So it was actually, the entire thing was kind of a Fast and Furious operation. So luckily it was something that we had been kind of noodling on for a little and had some ideas of how it could work. Trying to think what was the sticking point. Yeah, honestly, that one went pretty smooth. Of all the things, there was some stuff that we ran into, kind of finalizing the manufacturing design. There was just some little stuff that we had to adjust last minute, but for the most part, that one went off pretty smoothly.
Pretty good. Because I know that is a very popular cooker for people, especially when they get one. People, I see them. I say that in my unboxing thing. It looks like it's like a futuristic from the past, like rocket ship thing, and it's just like cool looking, And
great description.
Yeah, it's like weird, but I meant that. It's just really cool looking, but it's got wagon wheels on it, And it's like,
right.
Yeah, But I know a lot of guys that have it, and they just swear by it. And I've only used it a couple times, and I got to say the same thing. That thing holds temps like crazy, man. I mean, it just you dial it in and you get used to how to use it. It holds. I mean, it's been. I'm very impressed with it. So it's in It's a cool
I gotta say, probably the part about that's, I guess, frustrating if you could say that, but just the when we do get commentary on it, that people are wondering where the door is to add more charcoal. Don't need it.
You should.
15 hours.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, Keith Bevington's coming on later, and he swears by it. He's like, I have no problem 15 to 16 hours with that cooker. So So that tells you enough. Noobs Barbecue and More is asking, what's the largest offset smoker that you guys have? What's your largest one?
So that's the Longhorn offset. So we have two variations of it. We have a basic version of it, and then we also have a reverse flow that has baffle plates, and then the smokestack is positioned on the other side of the smoke chamber.
Sure.
So yeah, that's going to be the big guy. I think it's off the top of my head, 1,000 and change square inches cooking chamber and offset box. Yeah, combined.
Sure, nice. Yeah, I like the reverse flow idea the most. I've always kind of liked those type of cookers and all that.
Have you used the reverse flow?
I've not used one. I just have seen them, and I'm always like, that's really cool. Cool concept. I mean, I'm just
It's real nice if you're real into the stick burners. It adds a level of it helps with the hotspot situation and offset. You can really even out the temperature and get a little bit more reliable temperatures across the entire thing. So that one of the tricky things with the offset is having to kind of move foods around and kind of deal with the hotspots. That lets you use kind of more of the space at once without having to be so attentive with moving and cycling food and stuff.
Sure. And that is one thing with a regular offset or, some other type of cookers too. You have hot spots, but it just makes sense with that reverse flow that, that's going to change things and it is going to level it out when it comes back around, So, and especially now, does that have baffles underneath it, or is that or is it just a complete shelf on the bottom? Is there any airflow adjustment at the beginning when it comes up around, or is there just the opening?
Yeah, you're basically controlling the air the same way you would on a traditional offset. It's just that we include 4 baffle plates. That's one of the cool things about it as well, is that they're 4 separate plates, so you can use as many or as few as you want to. So that adjusts how the temperature ends up kind of settling in the chamber. But basically, you would just control it in the way you would a typical offset. So you're controlling your air intake on the firebox, your exhaust on the stack, and that's how you're getting your temperature control.
Because again, I've seen them and they just look cool. I just never cooked on one, so it's like I get the whole concept. And I've seen like cabinet smokers that work the same way. That is a reverse flow. I just haven't.
You giving me the
been
nudge to send you a reverse flow?
Maybe it might be a good idea.
All right. Keep it in mind. I'll make a note.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I got to get some more cooks on that Bronco, but yeah, that could be a fun one for me to mess with. So for sure. What are your plans for developing? Oh, that's I read that one. Sorry. Here's another one. Okay, how much do they learn from backyard cookers versus comp cookers? That's from Charlie from Pickles Barbecue again. Do you guys pay attention more to the compers or the backyard guys?
Well, it's that's a really good question. It's a little bit of both because the competition smokers use such a particular technique because they're fitting into a very particular format, right? So there's turn-in times all, kind of spread, over a couple hours. They're very rigid. They cook at higher temperatures, so they do have different needs, but they're also some of the most rigorous users. So to be honest, it's kind of a combination of both. Okay. We're looking at the more traditional guy, and a big piece of that side of it is there's a lot more on the instruction side. So we're trying to make the grill guys that come with the products a little bit more robust and give a little bit more information to help not only guys that have a lot of experience with it, but also to help people that are trying to learn. Because we do see a lot of that in research and just what we're hearing feedback wise. Sure. This is my first smoker. How do I use it? I mean, an offset smoker is an intimidating thing. Even the drum smoker. And a lot of times you're about to put a lot of food on that thing that costs a good amount of money. So Correct. Everyone's very nervous about ruining that. So So I guess the short answer would be a little bit of both. We get to understand that kind of high end, pro performance from the competition guys, and then we get to understand a little bit more about how guys are using it every day. And maybe you don't. And that's actually a good throwback to the conversation we had about the Bronco versus the Bronco Pro. The Bronco has an 8-pound charcoal basket. The Bronco Pro has a 17-pound. I mean, that's a lot of fuel. And if you're only cooking one rack of ribs, not only is it a lot of fuel, it's a bigger chamber. So you have to burn more to get, sometimes it might be overkill if you're only doing a small piece. Right. So, what's great for the competition guy might not always be great for, the more casual barbecue. Sure. So, a little bit of both, I guess, is the answer there.
I've got one more question, or maybe two more. We'll do two more. But Keith Bevington himself is asking about the Bandera. Did you discontinue that, or is it still out there?
Not discontinued. It's coming. Okay. We had some background stuff with the suppliers, and we're getting that one up and running shortly. Okay. I think, don't hold me to this, but it should be available coming up here, maybe in the fall. Or late summer.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, not discontinued though. Okay. That's a favorite as well.
And then to kind of follow into this same question from Noobs from Barbecue and More, Dickie. He's, how many designs never make it out of the development and testing? Do you have a lot of them that don't make it out of there?
Yeah. We got cabinets full of designs that we do a lot of. There's a lot of effort toward trying to come out with what's that next new big thing. Brainstorm sessions, research, a lot of that stuff. You got a pile of drawings that come out of that, right. And it just goes to show you how. Kind of competitive the field is, because we have tried stuff that has been out there that we say, hey, this is a home run product. It's the right price. It's got the right features. People have been asking for this, and we put it out there and it just doesn't hit. Yeah. So we have plenty in the treasure chest of we can pull this thing out, and things may not always make it in that form that they're drawn, but we're always taking elements of things like that. Even the Bronco is a mixture of ideas from past products that they said, hey, that system worked really well. It would also work really well in a drum style smoker. What's that look like?
Sure.
And so if they don't make it as themselves, they kind of maybe get parted out into some other ideas.
Other ideas, yeah. Well, I suppose you have your tooling drawn for and ideas and stuff like that, so you just add it into another cooker if you can.
Exactly. If we can. Yeah.
Well, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the gravity-fed cooker to come out. I mean, I'll be honest with you on that one. So
okay.
So
we'll put that one in the war chest also.
Okay, there you go. There you go. I mean, that's a pretty popular thing right now. So, and if Scott's watching, maybe he'll think about that too. I've teased him a little bit about it also. So, but I want to thank you, Dan, for coming in here. I really appreciate it. Great job, and I think everybody got some good value out of this conversation about the whole product development. I don't think enough people really pay attention to how long and how hard it is really to get this out to the masses, and I appreciate you coming in, bud, and everybody, if you haven't subscribed just to Oklahoma Joe's, just so you can, get to see Dan in action. He's got some good videos, so
maybe I can convince him to get the bloopers up there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, say, hey, let's throw some bloopers at the end there, and it always gives people laughs, so.
Yeah, of course.
But
well, great.
I appreciate it, buddy, and I will be in more conversations in the future, and thank you, Scott, for lining up the conversation for us. Dan, I mean, it's a home run tonight, so I appreciate it. Sorry for the technical difficulties in the beginning, but it's darn live communications. It goes that way sometimes,
How it goes. Gotta roll with the punches.
That's right.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much for having me. This is a lot of fun. And maybe we can do this again, and I can show some, maybe talking about some new stuff. I don't know.
Well, 100%. If you guys come up and you want to announce something, you can come on my show anytime.
There's the open invitation.
I would love to be one of the first people to be able to announce something from you guys. So just let me know. So, I can always squeeze myself out of the show a little bit more. Trust me, So, okay. All right, man. Well, hey, thanks so much. And if you want, join in the conversation. Unless you're busy, if you get in there, the guys might ask you some questions in the chat. If you want to join in, I'd appreciate it. But hey, we all know that you're a busy man, so we get it. So, all right, bud.
All right, Jeff. Well,
all right, take care.
Thanks everybody for watching. All right, I'll talk to you next time.
Talk to you soon. Yep, talk to you soon, bud.
Right.
Later.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, there we go. That was fun. I mean, that was a good conversation, and he, like he said, he rolled with the punches, so that was cool. So let's just give Dan a round of applause real quick. And I did see Scott was watching from behind closed doors, so that's good. Thank you for joining me, Scott. I appreciate that. And I am a big fan of Oklahoma Joe's and what I've used with their cookers so far. I try to explain to everybody that rider is a tank. It is really a huge, cool cooker, and I've been very, very pleased with it, how it's worked, and the food that I've been taking off it. And I've cooked on other pellet grills, and all pellet grills are decent. But the thing I like is just the whole design, that you can fit a massive amount of food in there, and it's pretty level cooking temps throughout that whole chamber. So from top to bottom, there's not much of a difference. So if you're cooking for a graduation party, load her up. Load it right up. So, well, I'm going to do the old beer pea break polka, and then I will come back, and then we're going to get the Bevington twins on. So enjoy. I'll be right back.
Hey! Geht's euch gut? Super! Hey!
Yeah, there you are, Uncle Steve. I put some chapstick on, get a chew in my mouth. You know, my wife hates it when I chew, but I'm a dirtbag. I can admit it. It's life these days. Well, can't always be perfect. You got to have some type of bad habit, don't you? So, all right. Well, let's get over to here now, and we'll start getting ready to get Keith and Kevin on. Now, I've gotten to know Keith from the Facebook group. I'll be honest with you, Oklahoma Joe's, and he was a big part of the Pit Boss one that I'm in. And he kind of touched base, and to be honest with you, he's helped me a lot with the Bronco, and he's explained a lot of different things to me. He is your classic backyard barbecuer, but he has a food knowledge with working at Cisco and running a hotel and all that. Then we have Kevin, his twin brother, that is a real Hall of Famer in the Barbecue Hall of Fame for the FBA, Florida. And it's amazing, and I'm excited to get these guys on here. We're going to hopefully be able to do a dual call, I'm pretty sure. Get this over here. And then let's get them on. So we will call them both, and then I might have to do some adjusting. Let's go. And hopefully we are calling them. Let's see. And we'll see if we can get them in. If not, here we go. We're starting to get a couple of them. All right. I'm thinking I might... You guys there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Jeff. How you doing?
Good. You got to turn on your... Maybe you might have to turn on your video feed. We'll start getting you in here. And I just need Kevin. I think you just need to hit your camera. We got Keith in. There we are. All right. Well, how's it going, fellas?
Going good, Jeff.
Good. Well, thanks for joining me, guys. I did a quick little introduction there about the two of you. Kevin, you're the Hall of Famer and kind of a pioneer of barbecue. A lot of people probably don't realize that you're also the developer of the Outdoor Cooking Channel. And, your resume is so crazy long when I put it in the show notes. And then we've got Keith, his twin brother, that's been heavily involved, still currently the backyard barbecue king, in my opinion, because I can ask him stuff about cooking. And Keith is very helpful, especially in the Facebook groups and with myself. So, Kevin, we'll start off with you. Just give us a quick little introduction about you and your background.
Okay. Well, it's been a while actually since I've been kind of relevant, but man, I'm from the backyard, obviously, and that's where we all come from, I think. At a cook competition. I bought my first smoker back in 1978, and which was a long time ago. And I've been cooking barbecue ever since. Started competing in 2002. And cooked both FBA and KCBS. Won a combined 65 grand in reserve champions. I could go through the list that you had there, but you have it all written down.
Sure.
So I won't bore everybody with that.
Well, and then we got Keith. Keith, you your food service, working for Cisco, being a buyer and salesman, and running a hotel. I mean, tell us a little bit about that and add to it.
Well, I mean, I manage several restaurants between Denny's, Sambo's, Actually, Dunkin' Donuts at one time. I mean, also food and beverage director, Howard Johnson, downtown Park, Park Plaza Hotels.
Sure.
But also, from there, I was also a food broker, which turned into also a meat food commodities broker, which that was probably the best education I could ever have, especially in today's world.
Right.
I mean, with everything that's going on in retail, as well as I own a produce company. I did that for a while. So that was a nice or good experience, I guess you could say.
Sure.
And, very in depth in sales and knowing how it works, how the whole system works, I guess you could say.
So how did you guys start out in barbecue? I mean, Kevin, where did you start with from square one to the Hall of Fame? Where did you start?
Wow, that's a long time. I mean, as far as, like I said, it was 78. I was 18 years old back in 78.
Right.
And I bought a smoker at a place called Eckerd Drugs, which we used to have, a prevalent chain back in the southeast U.S.
Yeah.
For prescription drugs, etc. But they sold everything. I mean, just kind of like a Walgreens. They sold pretty much everything back then, and
from bike tires to migraine pills.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
But back then there were no videos, there were no books actually, and it was there was a lot of salt and pepper back then, and you were trying to get creative every now and then, and it was all trial and error, but it was a lot of fun, obviously. And there's some fun in that. There's some fun in doing it from scratch and not just following somebody else's recipe, and you come up with something good. It's yours. But anyway, I mean, I basically cooked in the backyard almost every week after that.
Sure.
Whenever I could, I was cooking, and then I started a website, homebbq.com, quite some time ago. That was actually back in the late 90s that I started that.
Okay.
And I was answering people on my forum and so forth, and answering questions, and somebody came on. His name was Joby Staniland. He was then president of the Florida Barbecue Association. He came on there and he challenged me. He said, "Put your money where your mouth is and come cook with us." So I did. I went and I judged a contest. It was what they called their fun cook, and learned how to judge. And then I judged a couple of contests and until I was ready to go and start cooking competition.
Sure. So Keith, when did you follow into the barbecue part of it? Was it a family member that kind of did it with you, or was it you and your brother dinking around together, or what got you into being really you've done some competition cooking too, but what got you into that whole part of the barbecue part of it?
Well, I mean, I started, Kevin's maybe 78. I was probably early 80s. I didn't buy mine at Eckerd's. I bought mine at Kmart. I think it was the Brinkman's Smoking Grill, charcoal water smoke, man. It was, I think I paid $25 for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I cooked a lot of food on that thing. And what's funny is back then, we didn't have internet. I mean, we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have any of that. So, I mean,
sure,
it was all trial and error. Okay, so you just, if people ate it or not, if it was good, they ate it. If it wasn't, they wouldn't eat it.
Right.
So that's how you figured out if you maybe over-smoked it or overdid something with it. But, I mean, just from there, I've been a backyard guy. I mean, I've done some, local competition stuff around here, but nothing serious like Kevin has. But I mean, I enjoy just, just doing all different types of cooking, whether, like one day I might go out there and do Memphis style. Another day I'll do Kansas City style. Another day I'll go out there and do Texas style, so, just whatever kind of mood I'm in, I guess you could say. But I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, how many cookers do you got, Keith? How many cookers?
14.
14. Yeah. So you're a little bit more than just a backyard barbecue, and you're obsessed with backyard barbecue.
Obsession.
Yeah, it's obsession, right? So Kevin, when you started to win, what pushed you to go into all the competition that you did? I mean, you were like the most traveled highwayman there for a while, back in the early 2000s.
Actually, Johnny Trigg had that. I mean, we traveled all over the Southeast, as far as we could go. We were still working full time,
right?
But as soon as you make that decision to cook in a competition, and the mistake was we won a trophy the first time we went, and as soon as that happens, you're done, and you can't wait to find the next one to cook in, and
right.
That's just what happened,
right.
And we started doing okay. By the time we cooked our sixth event, we came in reserve champion. We were third overall in the 3 previous events to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we won a reserve grand, and 2 contests later, we won our first grand champion. And then from there, geez, we were done. It was like
right.
For the next 10 years, we were cooking almost every weekend.
So have you had, dabbled with the idea of coming out of retirement and doing it again, or
sure?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to be able to travel a little bit and do it. I mean, like I said, I mean, mostly what we cooked was was in the Southeast U.S. I mean, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee. We got to the Carolinas some. I never did well in the Carolinas for some reason, and where Tennessee did real well, Georgia did real well, and Alabama did well. And of course Florida did my best there. I cooked most events there, but yeah, I'd like to get to a point where when I'm retired, I had a cush job back then. And
sure.
I only worked 4 days a week, and when I got out of work on Thursday, I was traveling, to the contest. So
right.
So when I retire, and hopefully that's within a few years, trying to work on some things. Hopefully they turn out good. And then, I'd like to get back into it again.
Well, I think a lot of people would like to see you get back into it. I mean, especially the way I think you're pretty well known for your brisket, if I'm guessing correctly.
That's my money category was brisket.
Right. And you have some stories even with entering the least amount or the minimal amount of protein and finishing what was that? What competition? I think
actually, there were 2 things like that back then. I mean, in I guess it was 2004. Back then KCBS Team of the Year. They chose your best 5 events, and there was a different scoring, to the size of the event. 50 teams or above were so many points. 30 teams and above were so many points, something like that. Anyway, I actually made the top 10, 6th overall, only cooking 5 events, which was I was pretty proud of that.
Right.
I mean, where they took your best 5, and I only cooked 5, so that was it. And we finished 6th overall and Team of the Year.
That takes a little balls, just to throw that out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, they do it much differently now. I mean, it's not, it can't be done. But there's a lot of great cooks in the KCBS and then and now.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I was cooking mostly in FBA at that point, and I can't remember, probably cooked 20 events or close to it in FBA that year.
Wow.
So I tried to, there was a few years there, maybe 4 or 5, to where we were cooking about 30 events a year in that range.
That's a lot of time. That's a lot of time. So Keith, with your commodities background and all that, and with the so-called beef shortage, what's your opinion on this? I mean, do you think this is going to come back to normal, or do you think there really is a shortage, or what?
Well, if you take a look at some of these groups, I see it all the time. And you see these people that are going into grocery stores and they're putting up pictures of, briskets for $108. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then, just take a walk into Walmart. I mean, I've got 2 Walmarts right around me,
Mm-hmm.
Neighborhood Market and a regular, the big Walmart, I guess you could say. And both of them have choice brisket for $2.96 a pound.
Mm-hmm.
So what tells you is the product's now becoming available. I mean, when you had David Bauska on there, I mean, he hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's no shortage of animals. The shortage is on the processing side, and and you're going to find some of the retailers now taking advantage of that, and they're going to try to get money where they can. I honestly feel there's no shortages at all on the processing side. I think it's coming through strong. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of people out in Texas buying briskets right now for $1.60, $1.70 a pound, and so you're seeing it come back pretty strong.
Yeah.
So it's coming back. And I mean, when I was a meat commodities broker, that was a big education. I was like a fish out of water because I was used to dealing with food service, and going into that, I was dealing with, big time retail buyers. And
right.
I was on the side of that table watching this go on as far as negotiations. And I mean, I could go on for hours and educate people on what really happens there.
Right.
And just to let you know, I mean, in beef, they buy in cattle pack. Okay. So they book out for the year. There's about a set price per pound on their cattle pack, and they have to buy so much to honor their agreement.
Mm-hmm,
Okay. So they pay the same price year round, and they move that needle wherever they want to. That's the big secret there. A lot of people don't know. Pork is the same way.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So what happened with that, with these processing plants shutting down, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But right now you should be fine. Right. I mean, if you see a retailer in there trying to get $100 for a brisket, just spit at him or something, I guess. I don't know.
Wait a little bit, because it's going to go down, I mean,
you're going to start seeing some people being honest and selling.
Right.
I guess that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like Walmart selling it for $2.96 a pound.
Right.
And then you got somebody on the street that's another big box retailer selling it for $13 a pound, same brisket.
Right.
Yeah, don't buy the for $13 a pound.
Okay? Yeah, hold off for a little bit. So, Kevin, I got a question from Pickles Barbecue. He's asking, who was your biggest competition back when you were in the competition world, and what did you learn from them?
Well, there wasn't any classes. I didn't take any classes, so I didn't learn from anybody directly. It was all trial and error for me. Geez, I mean, if you had to say KCBS, I'd have to say Johnny Trigg. He was the best there was at that point in time.
Sure.
In FBA, there were a lot of good teams in FBA. That were a great competition week in, week out. Oh, geez. Let me think about that a little bit.
That's because he beat them all so bad.
That's not fair.
Point-wise, wasn't even close.
Well,
I mean,
well, in your heyday, I'm sure there was times you rolled in with your rig. People are like, "Oh gosh, he's here." Did you kind of get that feeling once in a while once you started winning big time, or?
Yeah, and also too, when we first started, everybody, had their big rigs out there, and we rolled in like Beverly Hillbillies, and went home with the money a lot of times. that didn't go over too well. I mean, but next thing you know, we after how many, we were able to, get our own big rig, and we were able to do it ourselves.
Sure.
That way. And the biggest thing is we had to get to a point where we could have something we could leave all our stuff in. That was the big thing, so we didn't have to pack it up and unpack it every week.
Right.
And we did. I ended up getting a trailer, and we kept our stuff in there, and I'd go get meat every week. And at that time, I was using a stick burner, and I'd have to find wood every week, and a lot of times I'd have to dry it down and get it ready to go.
Sure.
But that was those were some good times. I look forward to being able to do that again. Like I said, I was out a lot of weekends, and but you get to know the people well, and I did, and we had a lot of good friends out there.
Right. Do you at times get that, missing feeling for the competition? Let's say that competition. Are you built for competition? Obviously, you're a champion. But is that in you still after you kind of retired, where it's just a lingering little thing? Or is it like, I did what I needed to do, now I'm kind of moving on? But you want to come back. But you know what I mean? Is that something that in there still, in that drive to get as aggressive as you were in the past?
Sure.
Okay.
I would love to do that again. I mean, now I'm working too many hours, so I've got to stop that stuff so I can get back out there.
Do your fun and your hobby, right?
Yeah.
Jake Nuzz is asking, if you'd wanted to start in the competition and start doing it, besides like learning how to like run a smoker, what's one of the biggest steps that he has to learn other than that? What it takes to be getting to the competition other than the actual smoking process?
Really, I'd recommend to anybody that's wanting to start competing is to go learn to judge. Go to a judging class and judge a couple contests. I mean, what it does is it gives you an idea of what you're up against and what the process is with that. And, the more familiar you are with it, the better. And when you think you're up to speed, then go out and start competing. I mean,
Sure.
Give it a shot. You never know. I mean, what I did was I got my neighbors involved, and I cooked, every weekend, and I'd cook a couple different kinds of recipes of ribs and chicken and brisket, etc. And I'd have them judge it for me and tell me what was best.
Right.
And that helped a lot.
In back in those times, was there a lot of rub companies that you worked with, or did you have more of your own specialized rub that you did, and this was your championship? Or did you get, were you sponsored by, like a lot of people are sponsored by Suckle Busters or, different things like that? Or did you have your own, this is my rub? I know eventually you made your own rub, but did you, what did you end up doing with that part of it when you first started?
Well, there was, I don't know if he's still around. I mean, there was Bill Cannon, Texas Barbecue Rub. He sponsored me for a little while, and I used his rub. And but eventually, I started mixing my own. I got specific on this particular rub for chicken, and then a particular rub for ribs, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I started making my own rub, and then to pay for that process and the whole competition process, I decided to sell it, and I did that, and we sold it for several years actually.
Sure. Keith, when you're doing your Facebook, helping people, what's the biggest thing that you take out of it when you teach somebody? Because let's face it, a lot of people that are in the Facebook groups, they might have been on a gas grill or used a little charcoal grill and did some hamburgers and stuff. And now when what's the biggest takeaway that you get when you get a reply back from your information that you're helping them out? What do you feel when you do that?
It can be frustrating.
Yeah.
because because a lot of times, you're trying to help the guy, and there's, I don't know, probably 50 people commenting on there. I call them keyboard cooks. Because I look at barbecue this way. There's no right way. There's no wrong way.
Right.
It's your way.
Right.
And you have to learn it and make it your way.
Mm-hmm,
okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And people on there will, I say, I'll tell them, I do this, and they're, oh no, you can't do that, and it's like there's you have to adapt it to what your thing is. I mean, it's like, take Kevin. Kevin's a low and slow guy. I'm a hot and fast guy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's like when I cook a brisket, I cook it 4.5 hours.
Right.
Yeah. I get all kinds of reactions on Facebook from that. You know, it's like, you can't do that. I just did.
Right.
Not to mention, you know, like pork butts. I can do pork butt 4.5, 5 hours. You know, I just don't have the time. You know, I mean, I own a vape shop. Everybody knows, they've heard of the vape thing, the e-cig thing. I own a vape shop that I work 6 days. I work 60 hours a week.
Right.
You know, so I have 1 day a week if I'm going to cook, and I have a specified amount of time, and sometimes I go crazy. You've seen that, man.
Yeah,
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, there's
Then
enough food for 2 weeks there. You know,
it's out of my system, man.
Yeah.
And you know, my food saver works very, very hard that day. You know, I work the hell out of that. And I mean, but at the same time, it's just, you know, between, you know, find your way to do it, and at the same time, you see a lot of people, you know, trying to get a smoker to cook at the temp, you know, and it could be an offset, it could be a drum, or it could be whatever. You know, everything's going to cook differently depending on where you're at. You know, I mean, you know, it's like where you're at, there's less humidity than where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could have thinner air, I've got heavier air. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, find where that cooker is going to cook comfortably at, where you're not having to chase temps the whole time. I mean, that can make your life just horrible. You know, get it to where, find out where that cooker is going to cook at, and let it cook, and then just keep an eye on it, and you know, spend the time on cooking the food instead of just chasing temps. I mean, you know, barbecue. I learned this a long time ago, trial and error, but this is something Kevin ingrained in me for a long time. Everything in barbecue changes. I mean, there's nothing ever going to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you fire up a cooker, every time you know, you put a different piece of meat on there or whatever, everything's going to cook differently. Okay, so you just have to be ready for that. I mean, that's just that would be the biggest secret.
So, out of you two, do you guys ever have friendly competitions between the two of you?
No, not yet.
No.
Well, we're not like next door to each other, so you know, that kind of hurts that kind of thing. But no, I mean,
he likes to give point values on my pictures sometimes.
Okay,
you know?
okay. So he's judging you still. He's judging you. Yeah.
Your appearance.
I think you guys need to have a cook-off, a family cook-off sometime, and just, you know, for bragging rights for the year or something, you do a little Bevington like competition between the two young. That way Kevin can get back to, I mean, I know, Kevin, you cook all the time still, but you probably don't spend as much time cooking. You know, I know Keith does. I mean, because I'm in some of the same groups, and he's a Facebooker with a lot of different pictures of multiple meats that he cooks. But what is brisket your favorite thing to cook, Kevin, or is there something like, I just really like chicken quarters? You know, I mean, because that's a.
Well, I kind of get into, you know, when I cook now. I mean, I'm so ingrained in the 4 categories where I'm usually doing one of those, you know, at a point in time. But yes, brisket is one of my favorite to do, without question. Ribs. Right now, I would say ribs are probably what I cook the most.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, you know, they're still halfway affordable. You know, I can't afford a brisket right now.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And even pork butts. I mean, I you know, finding one that's halfway decent that I want to pay that kind of money for. But I didn't. I mean, I didn't have good luck on some spares that I bought a couple weeks back. You know, I paid good money for those, and one of them was cut in half. I had a picture on it on my on Facebook.
Facebook, yeah. and they concealed it enough in the cryovac underneath, huh? Is that how it happened?
I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell. You know,
it's just like kind of a dirty, rotten trick, you know, really.
Well, yeah, especially when they kind of sliced across the bones. So it wasn't even a clean cut. You know, it was not a good thing. Like I said, I posted a picture on Facebook.
Sure.
You know, but I've been getting some really nice loinback ribs, and that's what I've been cooking probably mostly recently.
I know, Keith, you might be able to say the same thing, but what is your favorite thing to cook?
Well, you've probably seen 100 pictures of them, probably would be ribs. I mean, whether it be beef or pork.
Yeah.
I can never, it's like, to me, I can never get them good enough. And so every time I cook them, I'm trying to get them better, I'm trying to either, infuse a different smoke flavor or do something, keep it interesting. But, I like cooking, I would say ribs. I'd say ribs is my favorite.
Sure. Well, Kevin, what's your favorite cooker? What's, out of all the cookers you've had, competition or even just in your backyard, what's your favorite cooker that you've ever used?
Well, there's probably other qualifying questions to ask there. I mean, one would be, if you're talking about quality of food, I would have to say my Lang 84 that I cooked on.
Okay.
That was quite a few years back. I cooked on FEC 100s. After the Lang 84, they did a great job. Made life a whole lot easier for me.
Mm-hmm. Sleep, right?
Sleep, yeah. A wonderful thing called sleep.
Right.
I mean, back then it was just my wife and me, and by the time we got to turn-ins on Saturday, I was whipped, and that's when you have to be at your best, putting together turn-in boxes, and I depended on her a lot with that. But when I got into the pellet cookers, that made it a whole lot easier to do a lot of events in a year.
Sure.
Otherwise, it was way too much work. I would have to, and then I'd go right back to work. I'd get home a lot of times on Sunday and clean things up, and I was worn out. And then next thing I had to go back to work on Monday.
Right.
Start everything all over again. So that was hard.
Right, of course.
When I got into the pellet cookers with the trailer and so forth, it made things a lot easier. No, I think Forrest was asking me in the chat if I am still cooking with the FEC 100s. I'm not. I haven't cooked with those in a while. Right now, I'm mostly cooking on a Traeger. Mm-hmm. It's a Timberline 1300 is what I'm cooking on right now, mostly.
Sure, good cooker. Yep. So how about you, Keith? I mean, what's your, out of your 14 or one that you had in the past or something, what's your favorite cooker?
I don't know. Of course, I have 3 pellet grills, 3 pit bosses, and they do get their share use, especially 2 of them do. Mm-hmm. And that's just if I have enough time and I just want to throw something on there. That's the quickest, easiest. But I would say I enjoy the drum smoking.
Okay, sure.
I mean, that always becomes interesting at any given point. I don't have the time. I've got 2 offsets. I've got two Highlands, 1 direct flow, 1 reverse flow, and I miss using those. So I mean, one of these days I'm gonna get the time. I'll have clean them out and re-season them and use them, because I mean, Kevin will say this. Yeah, Kevin will acknowledge this too. There's no better flavor than cooking direct wood. I mean, there just isn't. So it's a lot of work, but it's the best flavor you can get. So. Well, I would say for right now, I would say drums.
Drums.
They're easy. I mean, I've got the Bronco and I got the barrel houses, so that's the quickest. They cook fast, and I can cook whatever I want pretty quick on those.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, when you most definitely have to start messing with that reverse flow, because you might have been watching, and I, obviously poked at Dan a little bit that I'm thinking I need one a reverse flow. So when you get there, you got to get that going so you can help me out.
Let me tell you, man, it's the consistency is one big thing you get, because everything's consistent from one end to the other. Kevin will tell you that. I mean,
right.
Well, it's close. I mean, you still have some radiational heat to deal with from the firebox. So you have, depending on how large of a fire you're running, how hot you're running, you still have some radiational heat from the firebox. But it'll certainly help things out in terms of evening it out. That's for sure.
Because your laying was reverse flow, if I remember correctly, right, Kevin?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it was.
Yeah. And layings are pretty awesome looking cookers too, but in a lot of people's price range starting out, it takes a little time to get into an 84 especially, so you got some massive amount of territory on that cooker for sure.
I mean, my routine was the same every week. To get it lit, get it heated up, and ready to go. There's not many people that cook low and slow anymore.
No.
And that was kind of, and what's interesting is, that's the way it was for years and years, even on competition. I mean, you had to start early because you were cooking low and slow.
Right.
But Myron Mixon kind of changed that.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd roll in late and cook hot and
win.
And win. Yeah,
And win.
he did okay with it. But he
Right.
was also teaching that. He started doing classes, and he also started teaching with that. So I think a lot of that came from him. But because that's where a lot of people were being taught that. But I still cook low and slow. For what it's worth.
I mean, you used to teach. Are you thinking about getting back into the teaching and setting up classes or anything like that once you retire?
No.
Or no?
Well, see, I learned my lesson with that. I cooked, I taught. I had 3 good-sized classes that I taught, and one of them was at the National Peanut Festival grounds in Dothan, Alabama. Was up when I guess is it Brownwood, Indiana. Austin National Smokers. I did a class there when he was still manufacturing cookers there, and I did another class in Lake City that was a big class, and then I stopped that and I started doing one-on-one classes after that.
Sure.
I did a few, one-on-one classes, and then I stopped entirely. It's like, geez, I'm tired of teaching people how to beat me, so
Right.
I'm not making enough money for this. So,
Well,
but the one thing I really enjoyed classes-wise was doing backyard classes. I did a lot of those. And there was I'm in Oviedo, Florida. I don't know if anybody knows where that's at. It's just north of Orlando. It's where University of Central Florida is.
Okay.
But I there was a barbecue shop here. They sold my rubs there, and they sold a lot of people's rubs and sauce and cookers and everything. And I did a week class there, and I enjoyed that. Did that for 2 years, every week, once a week. That was when we were done competing, and they were sold out every week. And unfortunately, the owner of that shop ran into some hard times and had to close down. But it was that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed teaching that, probably more than anything.
So when you say you got sick of teaching people who became champions, who are some of the champions that you taught?
Well, there's one in the chat here, Forrest Finds Foods. He's one. Oh, geez. Yeah, and I didn't teach them how to cook, okay? And they may have needed to help on one category or whatever, but, there was Swamp Boys, Rub Bagby was one. God, I mean, I could pull out some pictures and then you could start naming them off from there.
Sure.
But, I mean, if anybody knew, a who's who from, back in, the early 2000s. In competition, but there was quite a few, especially in FBA, but also that when I did those classes, and one in Indiana, another in Alabama, I had a lot of KCBS folks come out.
So, so if there was one competition that you could just say go to right now, which would be the one that you'd want to go in and be in? What's the one that you want to do?
That's a tough one. I'm not sure if Sam's Club is still doing their championships. That would be a pretty good accomplishment, especially with the way they did their qualifying events, and you go to a regional. Twice and this was after we stopped competing. We came in and just did a qualifier that was here in Central Florida. One was in Orlando, another was in Ocala. But we were able to, qualify within those 2 events and make it to the regional and just miss going to the national event.
Sure.
I mean, that would be one I'd love to go to. I'd like to get back to the American Royal. Only got there once.
Right.
Got invited many years, but that was a long haul for me down from Central Florida.
Right.
And I was working full time. So I'd like to get back there again. And of course the Jack Daniels. I mean, we got invited twice. We went twice. I'd like to get back there again, as well.
Well, with you 5-6 years or whatever, 3 years, 2 years when you retire, what is your game plan to get back into it? Are you going to start real small? Are you going to do the pellets? Or are you going to do drums? Or what's kind of your idea of? Or do you want to do more of the backyard stuff? Or do you want to get what do you want to do when you come back out of it?
Well, when I get back in competition, I'd like to jump into KCBS and FBA again. And mostly, I accomplished a lot in FBA. I'd like to try to do that in KCBS as well. I mean, I didn't get a chance to cook a lot of those events. I mean, I cooked as many as I could usually during the summer. And when I took, FBA took the summer off, and that's when I would head out and do a bunch of KCBS events.
Sure.
I've got some unfinished business there. I'd like to see how well I could do on the KCBS side. If I was making a serious run at that, who knows? Maybe I wouldn't be able to do anything, but I'd probably approach it similar to what I did previously, and hopefully I can do well. But it's certainly in my plans, that's for sure.
So Keith, what's your favorite side dish for barbecue? That's coming from Pickles Barbecue. He wants to know what's your favorite side dish.
I'm going to be honest, man. I haven't really worked on those. I'm too busy cooking a ton of meat, man. I just haven't really worked on it. I mean, that's, if I were to do it and say because my big thing is I kind of want to open my own little pop-up kind of thing.
Okay.
That would be something I'd have to seriously look at, because there are a lot of people who are very weak on sides, and so you've got to be. I've noticed that some of the better ones are really strong on sides, and that's something I definitely have to work on. I mean, I cooked my whole life, so professionally and backyard, whatever. So I mean, it's not something I'm short on. I just never haven't concentrated on it lately. I mean, we cook steaks, we might have asparagus, or might do a couple potatoes in, but outside of that, I let my other half, Jill's, I let her worry about sides most of the time. So
yeah, it's the same way around my household. My wife does all the sides. I mean, even if I can make good, pork beans and stuff like that, but she's just better at it. I'm like, I'll cook the meat, you cook the sides, or whatever, chop up lettuce or whatever, and make all that type of stuff, and so I have that same thing too. I just need meat. I don't need any of this lettuce rabbit stuff, so it's like kind of that thing. So
yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So Dickie from Noob's Barbecue and More, he's asking, at the family get-togethers, who cooks?
What family get together?
We haven't had those in a while.
You haven't? No.
This first time I've seen Calvin in a long time. we don't get many of those.
No. All right. Well, that's okay.
We talk on the phone all the time. We converse and messenger a lot, and So I mean, we talk a lot, and of course with this COVID-19 crap, I mean, you're not able to see many at all. I mean, that's just
right
the way it is, But
well, I think one of you's got to bring a brisket, and the other one brings ribs, and I think that'll just make it easy for the both of you.
Hey,
I'll bring a drum. He can cook on his Traeger.
Yeah, there you go. So when you decide to get back into the push again, Kevin, is your wife going to help you, or is she like, I've had enough of this? I kind of like being that you're retired.
She said that a few times. There was one year, 2007, I practically did it the entire year myself. I mean, I would I would go there, and I would have a lot of times I'd have somebody volunteer to take my turn-in boxes and turn them in for me, but I was doing everything else by myself. But
Sure.
there was I would say it'd be good to have her there. She helps keep me organized.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big part of it. But as far as you can't have too many cooks in the kitchen.
Right.
And when I see teams with like 4 guys, and I don't know how they do it. I guess they split it up, and each person takes a meat or whatever, how they do it. But but I always have an opinion
Right.
on how it should be, and I usually I'm pretty insistent on that. I want it goes in, and what goes in, and so forth. So
Sure.
You gotta have somebody. You have to have one person making those decisions. I mean, in that situation. So it's a tough one. I mean, I guess if she's not mad at me at the time, I mean, she may go out and cook some events with me. But
Sure.
Otherwise, I could find myself on my own again.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with.
Well, you might have to snag Keith, and he can be your gopher. Bring him along.
I doubt he wants to be a good. See, we used to call them pit bitches back then. I don't know if they're called that anymore. First time she heard that, I got in trouble. She says, "You said I'm a what?"
A pit bitch.
A pit bitch.
So, Keith, when you retire, are you thinking about doing some of the competition stuff, or do you, with today's, demand of Wagyu and all that, do you think that that's something you'll just stay away from, or what are you thinking on that part?
Well, I mean, as far as competition, well, I wanted to compete. I just haven't been able to afford to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we had all 3 of us had a conversation the other day. It kind of intrigued Kevin, and it kind of intrigued me too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the SCA thing. That might be a good way to get out there, and with the least amount of cost, and really be able to compete. Because that's the biggest thing right now. I mean, you go out there and compete. I mean, that's it. It can cost you $1,000. I mean, just for one competition. I mean, by the time these guys are cooking Wagyu briskets, they're cooking Duroc pork, they're cooking all top shelf stuff, and that costs a lot of money. And unless you have some sponsorships to help you out, and I don't. So I mean, I think that would probably be the easiest way. I mean, I would like to, possibly, like I said, my big thing is maybe do pop-up barbecue and sell barbecue. I mean, that would intrigue me.
Right.
So I like cooking my whole life. That's always intrigued me, but might take a stab at the SCA thing.
I think that's a fun and a very social event too, the SCAs. I don't think obviously there's pressure to perform, but you're talking a couple steaks, hurry up, and then I think it's a little bit of camaraderie after that. I know Dickie from Noob's Barbecue does it, and I think Darren from Ash Kickin' does it too, Ash Kickin' Barbecue, and I think they really have a lot of fun doing it. I think obviously you want to win, but on the other hand, it's not as much pressure, and it can get you that little bit competition juices flowing, the competitive, bite, but the way they kind of run it seems kind of fair too. They do the snake draft through the meat line, and I just think it's kind of cool. Okay, so Noobs is asking you here, since Keith mentioned cost, it seems that the backyard guy has been pushed out. Do you see that in the same way? Do you guys see that the backyard small guy getting in there is pushed out of it?
Not necessarily.
No.
I mean, I don't. I mean, Kevin started just going in there with store-bought stuff. And I'm sure there's got to be some people in there that's doing that. Just know that there's some other people cooking some top shelf stuff. Just be good at what you do.
Kevin, if I remember, Kevin was saying too that didn't you just use prime brisket when people were running Wagyu back in the day?
Yeah, it was definitely just prime. I mean, I couldn't afford Wagyu, and having it shipped in, and so I would look for just red label, just regular store bought meat. I mean, prime's not regular store bought meat, okay? But I mean, I had it brought in for me, because prime brisket just wasn't sold around here. But it was CAB prime is what I used, CAB red label, and I would still compete with that today. If I were to go out, that's what I would compete with.
Okay, interesting. Because like I think it's fine. I've had Wagyu, but I've never cooked my own Wagyu brisket or anything like that. And it does have a richer flavor, obviously. So maybe with that one bite competition score, maybe there is some truth to that. But man, I love prime brisket. There's enough fat content in that to be damn good. So where do you guys buy your? We'll start with Keith. But where do you buy the majority of your meat now these days? Where's your favorite butcher shop or whatever where you're buying your weekly to weekly food?
Well, I'll be honest with you, and one thing in Florida, we have a lack of barbecue support in stores, in general. So you kind of got to go here, pick this up, I mean, I might pick up a brisket if I have time. If I'll go to Sam's, or if I don't have time, I'll just go over to Walmart and get a choice. And we have another one which is good on meats is grocery store. It's probably the better of anything that's around here is probably Winn-Dixie.
Okay.
So I might buy some stuff from Winn-Dixie. At least they have CAB. So I mean, if you're buying if you're buying, a lot of times I like buying the whole short rib, and that's generally where I get it, and is Winn-Dixie. Then it's always CAB.
Sure.
And chicken is chicken around here. So.
And you, Kevin?
Well, I mean, back when I was competing, Sam's is where I bought mostly, and there was a gourmet shop locally that that brought in brisket for me. But I'd get my butts and my ribs at Sam's, and I would get my chicken at Publix. I mean, it was not injected, and that's what I looked for.
Sure.
And it was pretty consistent in quality, and those are the two things that I looked for with chicken. As far as today, these days I have to say Winn-Dixie is probably where I'm getting most of my meat. I mean, I'm sometimes we'll be going back to Sam's as well and getting it there.
And it's with me, I don't have Winn-Dixie and and all that, and what is it, HIBs or H something like that down, and all these HEB and all these.
That's down in Texas.
Yeah. Right. I have Costco and Sam's Club for the bigger places around by me, and that's it. We don't even have a restaurant depot, and I know a lot of people have restaurant depots and all these different things. Well, so limited choice, but at least by me, there's always, especially at Costco, there's always going to be 10 or 12 briskets in that case, and then there's going to be always tons of ribs, that, and pork butt and all that. But tri-tip, I can't find tri-tip here unless it's been marinated and packed, so when I want to have tri-tip, I have to talk to a butcher and try to get a tri-tip. So down by you guys, you must have a plethora of picanha, in my opinion. Down in Florida, you must run into that a lot, huh?
No.
By you? No, really?
No.
Must be further south then, because I know there's a lot of places down there that picanha is pretty popular. So but that's interesting.
I've never seen that at the store. I mean, I've had it. I mean, I've gone to a couple. There's been a couple of good Brazilian steakhouses here that serve it, but I haven't I haven't seen any to buy
Yeah.
in the grocery stores or Sam's or anything.
My butcher shops, there's two butcher shops about 45 minutes from two directions from me, and they both have that, for me. So, and not just for me, but for I mean, they'll cut it fresh. They take the top sirloin and chop off the rump cap or whatever you want to call it, or the picanha or the top sirloin cap. They'll cut that off for me. So it's like, actually both these two, it's so funny when you start talking like areas, okay, around by me, what they do is they actually cut that picanha off and they cut the fat cap off and sell it as a tri-tip. And I'm like, that ain't tri-tip, that ain't tri-tip, you're really cheating here to these people, because if they ever have a real tri-tip, they're going to say, something's wrong, because it's way tender, it's way more tender than regular tri-tip. Tri-tip is good, don't get me wrong, but it's not as tender as picanha. But I'm like, man, you cut that fat cap off. What's wrong with people? So that's the best part of, it's a very, very close second to me to a ribeye. I ain't gonna kid you. So, well, I mean, I really appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out with me. I know it's getting late. It's pushing that 10 o'clock for you fellas, and you guys, well, you got to work tomorrow.
We're old.
Yeah. You're older now.
Kevin and I are definitely old.
And
bedtime.
Right. And for all you Pit Boss owners, Keith is very, very active in the Pit Boss Owners Club and the Oklahoma Joes. He's also in there. And so if you see him comment, in the Bronco, he's very active in the Bronco one and the owners group. So if you guys are in there, say hi to him. You guys met Keith and Kevin. We're all kind of hoping you come back out of retirement, to be honest with you. I mean, you've got a lot of championships, my friend, and a lot of experience there. And don't worry, I'll probably contact you once in a while when I have a question, and I hope you help me out. I'm not going to be your competition. Sure. But, I'm not going to get into competition. My wife would say, you go live
That's
in
what
your
they
car.
all say, Jeff.
Yeah. If you're...
That's what this guy, Keith, was saying. He'd call me up and say, what do you do for this? And it's like, wait a minute.
He wants to charge me money. I asked him for a chicken brine. What he was doing is chicken, and he said, I'm going to send you a bill before I tell you.
Well, I'll just take half the recipe. I know it'll still be good, but if you're ever looking for like a pit bitch, I'll come down there and do that for you, buddy. I'll
remember that.
Yeah, I'll come down there.
One thing to keep in mind, I know in KCBS Judges School, that is part of your training now. Is to go with the team, and you're a pit bitch.
Right.
Really training. I mean, I know for the what do they call it? When the judge, I can't, you get old, you can't think of anything. But anyway, I mean, it is part of being I forget what the level is. Maybe if there was a judge in there that could tell us, but in the chat. But I don't know if it's in the training, but it's I certainly had a lot of judges do their time with me, and that was both on KCBS side and FBA. And it was when they had, were getting their senior, I forget what they call it, but master, that's right. Somebody answered that. Absolutely, thanks for answering that. But when for their master, they need to do that.
Okay.
That's pretty neat. I mean, to have the judge, experienced judge cooking with you, it's great to glean some knowledge from a judge and
sure
how they look at things, and you can get upset at them for judging a certain way, and they'll judge your food as it comes out.
Right.
And if they're mean, then they get to wash an extra dish or two.
Right. haul the fat scrap, to the dumpster.
No, seriously, I've enjoyed every chance I've had to do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I'm rooting for you. I hope you get back into it, and I think you got a lot left in you, bud. So, just hurry up and retire. Yeah, hurry up and retire.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I keep saying.
Yeah, I think I'm even saying it. I'm like, hurry up and retire, Jeff. You got a little time, but no. Well, thank you, fellas. I appreciate you coming in, and I'm gonna talk a little bit on the show. So if you stay on the show, great. If not, don't forget, come and hang out with me once in a while on a Sunday. And both of you two guys, I mean, Keith, you and I we talk a lot during the week and all that, and I appreciate you coming on. And Kevin, when you're ready to announce that you're coming back into it, make sure you let me know so I can drop that out on the show. So, and anything else that you're doing when you get back into the barbecue swing again. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
You bet.
Jeff.
Yeah. You bet, fellas.
Jeff.
It was my pleasure. So you guys take care and have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right, man.
All right, bud.
Take care.
See you guys. All right. Let's get this here. Well, there we go. Let's give those two twins a round of applause. I mean, it's like, to me, it's like fascinates me that, with all their experience and how much passion they do really have in cooking. I enjoy barbecue, and it's a relaxing thing. And I forgot to say that to Keith, because I know that's probably one of his biggest reasons why he does a lot of barbecue. He always says it's just really relaxing for me to sit there and just watch a cooker cook, and I agree with him. And and Kevin, I think part of it, he did it for so long way back when, that he kind of told me before, once he got away from it, he's like, well, I didn't miss it that much. It was a driving force for a long time, part of my life. But when you kind of get away from it, it's like I kind of like having this weekend stuff off, So, but hopefully he gets back into it once he's retired, and we can go from there. Now, I saw Newcomb in here earlier. But Newcomb is the winner of the campfire shake. So congratulations, Ray. You won again. I'll have to look. I'm pretty sure I have your contact information. So you are a not repeat, but a two-time champion for winning that campfire, the campfire stuff. And then I also want to talk about Uncle Steve's. I don't know if he's still in here or not, but he came out with a new rub. It's the Sweeten R Spicier. So sweeten the spicier. There you go. Sweeten the spicier. So so he's got a new rub out there, and I was part of his little taste testing with a lot of other people that were a part of it, and it's pretty darn good, buddy. And he did tell me that I was very close or I was right on that same the same list of everybody else. So obviously, we tested like 11 different rubs, and Jake is in the chat, and he also got to join in with that taste test. His family and my family did it. It was a lot of fun. So I really hope, Steve has lots of luck with this. So, and I'm sure he is. It's a good rub. So if you guys haven't tried it yet, go check out his website and get in there. Now, for this week, as long as we were talking a little bit about brisket throughout the night, we're going to be doing the Texas brisket and the Texas brisket rub. So this week it's going to be #brisket. So do not forget to, after the replay, to put in the regular comments #brisket. So that way you get a chance to get in the drawing, and you'll win eventually. Everybody has. I mean, it's kind of cool. I mean, I wish more people would take advantage of this, because we have about usually 12 people, and it's like, don't forget, I got more people than that watching throughout the whole show. So don't run away from it. And again, I apologize that darn link, if you're watching the replay, I think I got it figured out. There's another thing in the dumb show after I had that complete shutdown, that for whatever reason changed to unlisted. God, I'm going to say I gained a lot of age here in the past 2 weeks with this darn platform, but I can't blame the platform. I can just blame the glitch. I hope everybody is, enjoying the actual summertime. It's supposed to get really hot here. Tomorrow I heard like 90s up here in Wisconsin. So my Viking blood is going to be on the verge of boiling. So I'm going to have to walk around in an air conditioning bubble. I don't really particularly mind the heat, but I can't stand the heat if you get it, Yeah, Jake, you got a chance to win. Okay, we'll keep it down then. Don't sign up for it. We want Jake to win some more. No, but I appreciate it, and thank you to Dan from Sucklebusters, and thank you to Dan from Oklahoma Joe's for joining us, and Keith and Kevin Bevington. I forgot to say, they said something really funny that day because I wasn't sure who was the oldest when we did our audio check. I said, "So who's the oldest?" And Keith says, "Well, I am." And then Kevin goes, "Yeah, I had to kick him out." But anyways, it was pretty good. Here we go. Cross Green. Any issues or complaints out on your Oklahoma Joe? Well, okay. I did have a auger jam, but that was after a very high heat cook. Okay, and I will tell you that, in my opinion, pellet grills aren't probably meant to run 700 degrees. And I was really, really crushing that. I did a couple steak cooks right in a row. And before I did it, I let that cooker run a long time at 650 plus. And I'm going to say probably let it run at 25 minutes, half an hour. And then I put the steaks on. I wanted those grates hot. And they were hot. And then when I went into the shutdown mode the next day, was going to start it up. And I did have an auger jam, a little bit of burn back. So what I do now is I always dump the pellets, and they do suggest you do that, and I think if you look at that hopper, the way it's designed, it's one of the better ways to dump pellets that I've seen. It's really slick. So I do dump the pellets, and then I burn out the tube for a little bit, run it on high, or just run it at that whatever for a little bit, and burn out some of those pellets that are remaining in there. I think that's been a huge advantage now that I'm doing that, because I'm not going to for sure get any burn back. Is it a little different than my Pit Boss? Yeah. But my Pit Boss has an extreme left to right cooking chamber temperature difference, and I'm talking 100 degrees typically, and it amazes me that it's that much off. It's always for sure 50 to 75, always in that little, and I like the Pit Boss, don't get me wrong, you just have to rotate in that thing. But I really like the cooking chamber on the Oklahoma Joe's rider. It just makes sense the way it's set up. I've been cooking on the bottom grate for a few cooks in those videos, and that's on purpose because there's been people that have had problems. And I saw one video out there where a guy, had his meat on the bottom grate and he had a little bit of problem. Well, I said I can do this without that. I'm not going to worry about it, and let's see if we do have an issue. I didn't. I had no problems. But I do like to put the water pan on that bottom grate, to be honest with you, because it does add some moisture into the cook. But for a lot of the videos, I've been just putting them on the bottom just to prove that you can. And I might, for the 4th of July, have a big cook that I'm going to do in it, and fill the whole damn cooker, to be honest with you, because I got a friend that's having a party, and we might do a video on it even. And we'll see. But no, I've been very happy with it. I wish it came with the front shelf and not the towel rack. I don't. Good night, Jake. I don't mind the towel rack. It's okay, but I'd rather have a bigger front shelf. I know they have it as an accessory, but I still would rather see them just ship that. And if somebody wants to buy the towel rack for an accessory, they buy that. But I'd rather see a front shelf. And then on the side, I wish they would put a handle on the shelf so it's easier to pull it around, because I store my cookers in the garage. I park my car outside. My wife parks inside, so I pull all my cookers back in the garage. So that is one thing that I would like them to see, to put some type of handle on that end. But I've been very, very, very pleased with the cooker so far. I did some great burgers on it last night. The boys actually, I talked about that earlier, that they said, hey, we'll make patties if you cook them. Okay. So it's a good cooker. Hot, extremely hot. That's one thing that I noticed about it. It is extremely hot. But if you run it a little lower, I've been running mine about 25 to 50 degrees normal or lower than I normally would cook at, and it holds very steady. All cookers, I mean, everybody should know this, that all cookers have different heat, hot spots, and throughout the cook they're up and down and all that. A pellet grill's going to cook in waves. It dumps the pellets. It's going to get a little warmer, but no, I think it's a really good value. It's beefy. It's a tank, man. So, but yeah, if you're thinking about it, join the Facebook group too. The Facebook, you'll learn a lot of things. I mean, I've seen some people have some issues, like with the, electronics are not easy, and when they first come out sometimes, but don't let anybody fool you. Every single pellet grill out there has issues, especially on a brand new release. They all do. They're not just doing things just to do it. They will end up making sure that they do it right for you. All right, Joe. That's okay. Thanks for stopping in, buddy. I'm glad that you got that Viagra working for you, buddy. Yeah, you bet, cross grain. Again, it's a fun cooker, and it does really do multiple tasks. The Pit Boss has a little, sear zone like this. I hardly ever used it, and I don't use the sear zone a lot on the rider either. To be honest with you, I just crank the heat up. I don't always. You don't need fire to be actually touching the meat unless you're, looking for more of a charred up steak. I've done it, but I don't do it on. I do it on a medium heat to low heat, grilling heat, and then I open up that sear zone just to kiss it a little bit at the end. So I haven't done a steak video on it yet because, to be honest with you, it's hotter than I typically cook steaks. I usually cook them right around 400 to 500 degrees. So once I start cooking at 650 degrees, I'm like, oh, but this is not working the way I want it to. So it's a little bit of practice, but I've done probably 10, 12 ribeyes on that now. So, but I like the wood flavor, but I'm a charcoal guy when it comes to steaks, a big time charcoal guy when it comes to steaks. So, but it's a good cook. Anybody else got a question for me? Hey, Kirby, thanks for joining in, brother, and Rob from Beer Champ Barbecue. Craig, welcome aboard, buddy. And we got Stephen and Jacqueline still in here. Jake had to go to bed. He's got to work. Terry, how you doing, bud? Who else? Keith is back in here with the vomit face. I don't know. I hope he's not telling me he's sick of listening to me already. Hobo, thanks for stopping in, brother. Tom, how you doing from Tom's Food Factory? I seen you in the chat a little earlier. Like I say, guys, when I'm usually doing this. Alberto. Hello, Alberto Sanchez. Thank you, bud, for joining in. Looks like a Miami Dolphin guy on there. I'm not sure, though. I can't really see that picture. I have my glasses on. Yeah, other than that, anybody else got any questions, want to talk about something? Thank you, Darren, for joining in, buddy. You need to talk to Keith. That could be your mentor also, former champion. You're an up-and-coming, competitor. So, I finally nailed it. I always see that. I always want to call you Beer Camp. Rob, and I apologize. I'm really, really apologize for me always saying that wrong, so. Yeah, you're right. Kirby, you're exactly right. 350, it warms up those racks good enough, and you can get you know, it's not too intense, because right above that fire pot is hot, man, and that's really, really pounding. So I agree. You know, I typically, when I think on my grill grate, I want to say that I was around 350. I set the temperature when I put the grill grates in there. I think that's where I was, because I always kind of like cooking on the grill grates at about 450. You know, and grill grates, you know, they're like a heat sink, you know, and they'll raise up right around that extra 100, you know. So good stuff. Well, Darren, I will talk to Kevin about that for you and Keith. He does too. Brother James screws it up too. Yeah, well, at least I'm not the only one. God, I just, you know, but Beer Champ Barbecue. Because you're beer champion. You drank a lot of beers. Right? I know I couldn't drink you. And I'd be sleeping really early, buddy, when you told me some of the amounts that you've pounded. That's impressive. So what else? Anybody got any big plans this week? Anybody got any plans this week? You're gonna start calling Rob Rod? I like that. You know, or are you gonna call me Rod? But no, good guest tonight, and I hope you guys all got some value out of it. You know, every show I try to put together, I always want everybody to be learning something, and it was fun to have multiple talented people on there tonight, you know. And again, get a chance to, you know, jump into some of these Facebook and talk with Keith. He's very helpful and just a fun guy. He's just your typical backyard barbecue enthusiast, you know, and I think a lot of us are, you know. But pop-ups. There you go, Keith. Yeah, I know Darren has that same goal. He'd like to have a little bit of pop-up and work into some of the brick and mortar maybe someday. He's got a big passion for barbecue himself. Yeah, I heard some little rumor that there might be a little collab with you two guys. That's cool. Good job, Kirby. Darren sent me a picture, and I don't have it on my computer, but he sent me a picture of a comp chicken thigh that he did, and that was very impressive, buddy. Beautiful color, and that you had that bite, you know, through skin, and I'm pretty sure you didn't do it like 2004 style. That's my guess. Yeah, I didn't talk about that, Keith. You're right. You are a big, huge bass player, buddy. I'm sorry. Dang it. You know, I should have talked a little bit more about that, but, you know, we were talking barbecue, and I was going to say how you know, played with some pretty cool people, you know. Rod Kimball. Oh, yeah. Keith's a good guy. And he can talk. Him and I are like two old hens when we get on the phone. And his style matches right in with me. So we have a lot in common with that. So a lot of fun. Rod. That sounds okay though, Rob. You know, you could be Rod. You know. Yeah, you don't skin them. Yep, you don't scrape skins anymore. Yeah, they looked really nice, buddy. I hope you made a video on that, and you can share some of that knowledge. Don't share too much, though. You want to win, remember? You know, so. But no, I need to get some more cooks on that Bronco, and I really plan on taking a little time off. My wife's birthday's coming up. I'm going to take off and cook some ribs for her work. So I thought we'll cook some ribs for her work, and I'll do a video on that. That'll be fun. And then, you know, do something. Yeah. Yeah, we're both smart asses for sure. So, but no, I'm telling you, I forgot how good, and I said that earlier when I opened the show, that I forgot how good hamburgers are. And we made cheeseburgers, but the I used 1836 in the SPG, and I actually took some over to the neighbors. I always try to, like, every once in a while feed a different house, a couple, because then they respect me more when I'm filming. They see that I'm out filming. They don't mow their lawn at that time, or they talk to me. Right now in our area, it's hot and heavy time for mowing lawn. People are mowing their lawn every 2 days, so it's hard to take a video when you got somebody running a lawnmower. But so my neighbors are like, "Holy cow, what'd you put on this? This is great." Well, 1836 and SPG. Check out a link, save yourself 10% off my promo code. So, other than that, I enjoyed my my video that I put up on the chicken breast. So if any of you guys are ever looking at purchasing a Bronco, I will tell you that you can grill on that thing pretty damn easy. Wow. And it held temp. It was crazy. It was better than my Weber for holding that charcoal lasted forever, and I didn't fill up that basket. I mean, I really didn't. And when I tooled it back, it stayed right around that 300 degrees the whole time. So yeah, it was good. We cook a lot of chicken breasts around here, to be honest with you. My wife really likes it, and now she's addicted to that sweet chipotle rub. She just thinks that's the greatest. So, and I do too. I like it too. It's really good. But I like I like chicken breast a little spicier, but the sweet chipotle is spicy. It's just not that really big kick. So, but it's good. It's good. I just never get away with being able to put any like real chipotle, like barbecue sauce on it, but that's too spicy. Then it's like, oh, it doesn't go good with lettuce. Okay. Oh, yeah. Weed whacker people. Yeah, I know. I mean, there should be like... I used to live in the farm, had a big farm, Grandma's farm. I lived on Grandma's farm, and I had all this room, no neighbors, 5-10 acres closest to be. I live in town. I like living in town, and my neighbors are very good people, very friendly and nice people. But it's like, dang it, really? You're mowing right now? But I try to cover it up as much as I can, use a noise gate in my videos or something. So, but yeah. It's like how many weeds you got, and I just went around the house today with Roundup because I'm like, I hate the weed whacker. I don't care if there's dirt there. I don't give a crap. I used to care about my lawn, and then the boys got older, and they're out there throwing baseballs all the time. It's back and forth. Baseball here, baseball there. So they're always tearing up the lawn. And I'm like, well, I'd rather have them being outside, so I'm not messing with any of that chemical crap or any of that stuff on the lawns anymore. So now it's like we got broadleaf and dandelions everywhere, so they're like, whatever. But the weeds around the house, they get killed. So block party food makes me cry. Well, I told my neighbors that I was going to have a block party when I hit 25,000 subscribers. I said, so we got a ways to go, but we'll have a block party then. So yeah, I have a shotgun mic. I always have a shotgun mic running for a backup. My lav usually can hold off a lot of the lawnmower noise, but you know how it is. You get it still and you deal with it. But anybody else found any really good deals on meat out there? I mean, Keith talking about having those select briskets that, I mean, I cooked select brisket. Choice, he said choice. Lots of choice. I've cooked a select one, I mean, I've always injected it. But like there was a time before, like this is a few multi-years ago, 10 years ago, that if you found a brisket around here, it was select. There was no such thing as choice or prime. No, that was a special order. I'm just happy I can get prime near me now, because I don't think a lot of younger people don't probably realize that. You know, it's like you can go to Costco. It's simple. There's all kinds of meat there. No, back in when I was a kid, my dad would be cooking stuff. Now, he didn't cook a lot of beef, but you couldn't get pork shoulders at the grocery stores. You know, you could get a pork butt, but you couldn't get a whole shoulder. 99-cent butts. That's a good deal. That's a really good deal. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Well, I think Keith was right when he was kind of saying it's going to open it up, and when it opens up, there's going to be so many farmers pushing all this stuff down in there that the meat prices are going to have to go down. They're going to have to go down because the farmers don't want to sit there and kill off anything. And I know some of the grocery stores have been grinding. You know, they'll have skirt steak and even brisket and that type of stuff. They're grinding it because there was that hamburger shortage for a while, you know. 90% of the people, well, that's probably too big a number, but 60% of the people can cook hamburger things, hamburger helper and stuff. So that's their beef intake, you know. Yeah, that's about where we're at, Tom. About that same range, you know. We were right around that $5.99. Jake said earlier that there was like $120 for a brisket. He's like, no way. You know, I've got one in the fridge I picked up just lately that's, I don't know, remember if it's a 14-pounder, I think. And that's right around $75. So I have to get that thing rolling. Wow, $9.99? Yeah. That's just ridiculous. But again, fingers crossed that all that crap kind of goes away soon, because I mean, steaks are close to $20, you know, or $18 a pound, or I think they're $18 a pound here for ribeyes right now. So my wife called me. I was like, pick up some steaks, and she called me. She goes, no way. There's no way. She goes, there's no way. I'm not picking that up, you know. But yeah, they were though grinding. I talked to several people, Charlie, that they were grinding briskets, you know, for hamburger. Yeah, it was. You know, hamburger was like, you know, in my grocery store was 1 pack per visit. You know, but they don't have that up anymore, so it's maybe more expensive still, but it's not that bad. You know, who's tried a new rub? I know Darren has. You know, Darren's got the tailgater out. I need to, from Sucklebusters, I tailgate something. I can't remember exactly what the name is. I need to get a shaker of that from Dan and get that rolling. Probably put that order in when I send them Ray's information for being the big winner. Choice. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's like, we'll pass. You know, we've been eating more fish lately too, you know. But, you know, hamburger's not crazy. I mean, it's expensive, but, you know, Tailgater's Party Rub. There we go. Yeah, I'm excited to try that. You know, throw it on a brisket, but the way you're talking, it can go good on anything. You know, and that's the type of rubs that a lot of people like, that you can put it on fish even. You know, I always kind of look for those rubs that you can throw on fish too, because my wife really likes fish. I like fish, but, you know, it's not my favorite. No. Lobster and crab leg and scallops, that's a different story. Tried bastard rub in Sweet and spicy are good. Yeah, I got my shakers of the sweet and spicier. And I need to throw it on something because I've liked all those rubs. They've done real well. I really am a Gator Shake fan. He knows that. Steve knows that, so it's good stuff. Kinder's barbecue tea. Ooh, that sounds pretty good. And lime rub. That sounds really good, buddy. I like lime and that little citrusy flavor, you know. Sounds good. Tequila. That's weird. They must dry it out, huh? Dry it and make it into a powder or something like they do with like the Worcester, wherever you're from, how you say it different. That sounds pretty good though. Kinder's. Anybody buy a new cooker lately? Or get a new cooker? No? Rob, the cornbread. All right. Rob's got a new video dropping soon, 60 seconds. Kirby, I have put Gator Shake on chicken mainly. We love it. My kids love it on wings. And we always have, when we have wing night, there's several different rubs, like the wing dust from, I can't think of the whole name, but the wing dust from Sucklebusters we use a lot. Clucker dust, and then the Gator Shake. We put a lot of, and it, yes, you're right. It goes good on salmon. We've used the Gator Shake on salmon too. Well, microwaves count. Well, there's Mike. How you doing? Thanks for joining me, buddy. But no, salmon, yeah, salmon. Eat fish with that citrusy flavor. It goes really good. Gator Shake could go well on fish. Yeah, but we're typically around here, mainly that. I love Clucker dust. I think that's probably still one of my favorite chicken rubs, but not just because I like the name so much, but I think it goes really good. Yeah, there we go. Now, Craig has that El Chero, and man, that's a cool looking little rig. How that thing sits there and turns, I think it's just. I like watching your Instagrams, just to watch that thing turn. I'm like, it's like such a neat little cooker, Craig. You know. I don't know. Do you get a lot of people watching that on the videos? Because it's a pretty cool little cooker, for sure. Steven's still up. It's good. Someday I want a rotisserie again. And I have a ginormous rotisserie that I need to get one of my fabricating buddies to sit down with me and do it. I don't flip them every 2 minutes. I will flip them like if there's thin grocery store steaks, about 2 minutes, man. You know, you get that heat hot enough, get them off. You know, and temperature is the way I've been grilling for years. It's kind of a hand feel. You know, then I got an infrared thermometer, and I can kind of cheat, but it was always kind of put my hand above there in like the seconds type of thing. I never really knew what was really, 5 seconds is blah, blah, blah. No, I never had any training on that. But when I put my hands over the coals, if it's like oof, I'm pulling them off quick. I'm like, at 2 minutes, flip it over, and then, just get my meat probe and check them. But it's usually like when I'm cooking around 400 degrees and they're a thicker steak, it's about 4 minutes aside. It's a good rule of thumb. 4 minutes if you want medium rare. If you want it more, well then do one side at 4 minutes, and then go ahead and flip it over on the back side, and you can let that run a little bit longer to get it to the temperature of your desire. But it's 2.5 minutes, like on the grocery store steaks, as I call them. They're real thin, boom, gone. Because mine has to be pink in the center, and if it's not, I'm pissed off the whole time I'm eating it, because I'm like, medium well is not good for me. I don't like that. It takes away the tenderness, and I don't like it. I mean, we all done it. We all had. Oh yeah. Oh hey honey, what? Oh, I forgot. I gotta flip these. We've all been distracted, but cooking steaks is easy. You just got to do it enough. But I could still say that's one thing that I'm pretty good at. I don't want to say I could be in a steak competition championship award-winning blah 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 or anything like that. But no, I mean, I've done it so many times. It's pretty simple. I like ribeyes a lot. So if you get your grill hot enough, the grocery store steaks, 2.5 minutes aside, and they're done. That's it. Now the bigger, thicker cuts, 1.5-inch type of cuts, and you start getting into those, nice, big, wide, 2 fingers. Yeah, maybe 4 minutes aside. But that's medium rare. Typically. Yeah, I saw that loaded up today, Craig. You had like hot dogs on there, beef, you had everything rolling. You betcha that works. You betcha, buddy. No problem. Again, it depends on how hot your cooker is. You have to always remember that. I say go by time. I'm the notorious person that puts the timer up there, because I had a buddy, when I started out with this, he goes, please put a timer on your videos so I know how long it takes. And I said, okay. But that's hard, because, especially when you're cooking with charcoal, you can use a, infrared thermometer. But sorry for laughing, but majority of new cookers, people that haven't done it, they're not going to have an infrared heater unless they're checking outlets or some stupid thing in their house or something. So, oh yeah, reverse sear is a great way. I need to do a video on that, and I'm going to do one, a reverse sear on the pellet grill, on the Ryder DLX, and then I'm gonna really give it a sear. I like reverse sears also. I do. I think it's fun. A lot of fun, to be honest with you. The flavor is different, especially like on a pellet. You get a lot of that little bit more wood flavor, obviously. Charcoal reverse seared are good. They're good, but I like it just right on top of it. Smash it and get it done, because I don't like waiting when it's steak night. I want to get it done. Everybody knows that I'm cooking steaks, so they want it done in a hurry, But thicker cuts, yeah, it's a little easier. Bringing it to 110-ish, and then zap it on the outside. You can really throw it in a pan and cast iron pan, and put a little olive oil on it. You can really get some sear there. That's for sure. Really. But other than that, yeah, front sear works too, Charlie. Very correct. Yeah. I've done that before. Pull it off the indirect and get it up to the temperature. Works good too. I mean, there's just millions of different ways to do a steak, really. Not millions. But sous vide, if you do sous vide, then you're really cheating. I've done that a lot of times. Yep, that's right. Best advice I can give, just try and do it more than twice. You're 100% right. too many people do something and they get pissed and they don't want to do it again. And it's like, nah, it's just easier just to do it. Do it. And then screw up and then do it again. And you're going to get better. You're going to. But you're always going to have one of those fails, after you get used to it. Seems like every time I'm trying to film a steak cook, I forget to press record or turn my mic on or some dumb thing like that. So I really have to concentrate before I actually get going to make sure everything's set up, because I've had times where it's like, oh, darn it, bozo. I had a perfect cook steaks with grill grates one time, and a perfect cook. I mean, for me, medium rare. It was hardly wall-to-wall pink, hardly any gray in there. And I did not have my mic on. So when people say that stuff, I'm like, I've been there. I know how that is. So I threw it all in the trash. And Dash from SDS BBQ, he was like, "Cole, can you do a voiceover or anything?" I'm like, I can't. I could do it, but I'm going to look like Chinese Kung Fu theater. My mouth is moving and I'm not saying a word. I made charcoal. I lit the charcoal. Now I dump it in. Do a voiceover. It'd be kind of a funny video, though. I can make that work. So maybe I should try it and do it on. In today's video, we're doing Kung Fu style brisket. That's where all my moron attitude comes from. I just think of goofy stuff. So. But hey guys, I think it's time to close up the shop. It's pushing 10 o'clock. Sorry for the, again, technical difficulties, but hey, I think I've got it now. So after seeing that, how it was saying unlisted, I don't get it. Yeah. Okay, perfect medium rare. That's what I like. Yes, I do. Claude, the comparison to the Rider DLX, I don't really know if there is a comparison between the two. They're both good cookers. What I tell people, and I said it earlier, the left side on my Pit Boss runs a lot cooler than the right side. On the Rider, I have to dump the pellets because it cooks, especially if I'm cooking at higher heat. So, to be honest with you, if I had my choice of one pellet grill, I would pick the Rider over the Pit Boss because of the sear zone, and that's it. And kind of the chamber setup, I kind of like how it stacks up. You get two other shelves in there. So if I was going to do a bunch of ribs, it's maybe a little easier to do a bunch of ribs in there compared to the Pit Boss. But I like both of them. The Pit Boss just runs. The Rider, I have to do a little bit more, dump the pellets. Now, I will tell you that I have more grease problems in the Pit Boss. If I don't clean that deflector off and scrape the bottom, I had more grease fires in the Pit Boss than I ever have in the Rider. Way more. So that's maybe the other thing that I would say the difference is, because man, when I would cook, like if I cook brats on the Pit Boss, I always have that thing's flare-ups everywhere, grease fire. And when I was cooking some briskets a few times, I would have the right corner on that Pit Boss, for whatever reason, I got some a grease fire. At first, I thought when I first started with that Pit Boss, I wrapped it with aluminum foil, because I know, like on other cookers, you do that. I've seen other guys do that on other cookers. So I thought, oh yeah, it'll keep some cleanup easier, blah blah blah, pull it off. Well, I ain't gonna lie to you. I pulled it off, and I still had some grease fires in that right corner for whatever reason. I don't know. Whatever. So, but to pick one of them, I'd go with the Rider just because it gets way hotter. So, Uncle Steve's back in here. I wanted to tell you, Uncle Steve, I brought up your sweet and spicier. So thank you for letting me be involved in that taste testing. Jake is gone now, but we had a lot of fun that night when we did it with the families. And I didn't want to just be me doing it. I wanted other people to be involved, and it was fun. So thanks again for sending me that. And I'm glad that we were close, all our ideas on what ones we picked. We actually, it was funny, we didn't have to even look at each other. And we take a bite and say, yep, but, and then when we got all done, we took one bite out of each bone, and then we were able to go back and try them again, and then it narrowed it down. So that was fun. That was a lot of fun. You too, Claude. Have a good one, buddy. Again, I hope that helps you. I like both pits, but I wouldn't rule that any of them are better than each other. The Oklahoma Joe's Rider DLX is a new product, so there's always that stuff. But yeah, you guys have a good one. I'm going to get off. I got to work tomorrow too. So we'll get out to the outro. And we'll play a little song, and you guys have a good one. Turn this to here. Good night, all, and we'll see you next week. Next week we have Uncle Steve is going to be on, and Steve, the cooking coach. So we have the two Steves. So, all right, join me next week. Uncle Steve, if you're still on and you're seeing this, I'll get a hold of you soon. So, all right, guys, take care and have a great week.
It's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Thank you so much for joining Ricer on BBQ Tavern Talk. Before you go, make sure you hit that thumbs up or hit the thumbs down. Leave a comment, subscribe, hit the notification ringy bell. All of those YouTube things. Action figures sold separately. Batteries not included. If symptoms persist, seek medical attention. Only one per household. Call toll-free number before digging. Caution, filling is hot. Do not fold, spindle, or mutilate. Do not remove tag under penalty of law. Refrigerate after opening. In the unlikely event of a water landing, your seat cushion may be used as a flotation device.